I asked Miss Teresa for one, but I think it's the only one.
I think I got one next.
Gotta get right shoes.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
I didn't want her to have just we did all this. Everything you see on there, your agenda, and all the documents. Cut that out. This was probably-
All right, it's it's a minute after 6, so we will go ahead and get started tonight. Thank you all for being here. I'm sorry for the delay with getting a sign-up sheet here for public comment. We did not have anyone come up when I mentioned that when I entered the room, and just making sure that no one wanted to be on the open comment section of the workshop. Okay. Thank you guys very much. On Thursday night, we will have the Canyon County Schools Employee Spotlight, but we will save that for Thursday night. The first item on the agenda of this month's meeting is to approve the January 19, 2023 agenda. So if you guys will be sure that you check the agenda, any kind of additions or corrections you see that need to be made right now. Okay. Item number 2 is the consent agenda, and we'll be able to approve the minutes that we've been sent from last month's meeting. Overnight and out-of-state trips, we have the Junior Beta Leadership Meeting in Pigeon Forge, the FFA State Convention in Gatlinburg, the Dixie National Internship Program in Jackson, Mississippi, and the HOSA State Leadership Conference, and that will be in Knoxville. All those will need to be approved on Thursday night. Are there any questions about those for anybody? Anything anybody would like to add? All right, number 3 on the agenda tonight is a financial report from the Canyon County Finance Department personnel, and they are here tonight, so I'll turn this over to them.
Pass you a cash flow analysis around. Pass that around.
That's all I knew it was gonna be a trick. Who's that put it in?
Anybody else
sorry,
like an
Doug.
agenda? Anybody else like an agenda? I have them available. I'll give them to Miss Stephanie. So if you'd like an agenda, please see Miss Stephanie.
Thank you.
I sent your financial reports today. The cash flow analysis just kind of tells us where we are to date and then estimated through year end. The financial report says that we're 45% through the year with our spending, but that's kind of a misnomer because remember one thing, we have 3 payrolls in June, so that's a big chunk of our expenses is payroll. And also, you know, you passed a resolution to fund a cooling tower at the high school, and that is not in this report because that didn't happen until January. So that'll be on next month's report. Nothing unusual about it. I can't think of anything unusual. Of course, the cooling tower was something that we didn't know was going to happen, but that's the reason we have to put money in capital outlay, because things like that do happen. I mean, you least expect it. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them for you.
At the same time we were doing the cooling tower, did we mention something about we was gonna have to create a position for being over on English learners?
Do what?
English learners, somebody told us we was gonna have to have another position.
Right, an ELL, they voted to vote to do an ELL position, yes.
We've got money in there for that.
We'll see. There's been so much turnover this year, it's just really hard to say that this is a normal month, because you'll have positions open that won't be funded for a month, and then the next month it's funded, but somebody else quit and gone somewhere else. You hired another teacher that costs more or costs less, and it's just hard to say we've had a normal month this year. I can't think of one where somebody hasn't left or we've hired a new position. And of course, you do have a resolution also for a grant. It's $1.5 million that's in your packet. I guess you'll pass that, and that will go into our budget. It's, Wesley and Crystal are gonna talk to you about that a little later.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Jennings? Thank you for your email. Thank you for your, very much. Appreciate it. All right. Item number 4 on our agenda tonight is an update from our architect, Gregor Smith.
Michael, if you'll assist us, Gregor should be on.
He was.
He said, there he is. So, Gregor, if you'll unmute, and we'll pop you up on the screen. There you are. So, still not hearing you, Gregor. So, Michael is assisting us in making sure that we have full volume up and working. So, all right. Hello, Gregor. Can you hear us? Okay, we can't hear you yet, so let Michael do his thing on there, and hopefully you can, we can hear you here in a minute. If not, you may call us and we'll put you on speakerphone, is what we've had to do in the past.
Should be working.
I can hear you, but you can't hear me. That's true.
Is something on his end, maybe?
Probably some on your end, Gregor, so if you'll.
Well, you can speak on this, because it seems everything seems right on this end.
And the people viewing say they can hear him.
Still working out the bugs in this room.
He says he's gonna go grab his phone.
Okay, if you grab your phone, we'll put him on the.
Should be working. I'll fix it for that. It should be working any second.
I understand. He'll call me when you get the audio on. Get it, we'll go from there.
Got TV now. I'm gonna check this out.
Okay, Gregor, I'll put you on speakerphone and you can give us a report to the board. I'll put you up full blast and so everybody can hear you. Okay, you're on, Gregor.
Yes,
Yep,
sir.
we got you.
I contacted Joe Vanderbilt today to get an update from him. And so here we are on Woodbury Grammar School addition. He says we're about 95% finished with the concrete block installation. We're up to about 11 feet high. We have 2 lifts of grout completed. The grout is finished everywhere else. They're working to finish the east wing wall tomorrow, and that'll be through Thursday morning, and the remaining grout is scheduled for this Thursday, weather permitting. They will then damp-proof the concrete block on the east side, and then work to finalize the brick on the east side. The brick is already completed on the north, south, and west walls. Weather permitting, they will then work to get their sprinkler started with sill plates on top of the block so that they can install the trusses. The rain has not been kind to us lately, he says. The electrician has been on site, is keeping up with the conduits. The site contractor has not performed any work to date in January. Waiting for drier weather as the last week for the mason to finish up on the east side, which is where he left off with his underground piping. Based on the schedule that I had sent last month, I have dry in being completed by next Tuesday. We will not make that date, but still looking to close in by the first full week of February. Again, it's all depending on the weather. So that's his report. It sounds like, we're about to put trusses up and a roof on. He can be dry by the first of February.
It has been, Gregor, so, but they've made a lot of progress in the last few weeks and, expecting more to come. All right, board members, anything from Gregor in regard to the Cannon Elementary, Cannon Middle addition going on? I'm looking, I'm not seeing anything, Gregor, there. So they'll smile at you and say, okay. All right.
They're on approval on that thing. What, 6 months?
Yep.
Get final approval on that thing, but approval, they're ordering installed, just in the next month or two.
Melanie's smiling at you, so that's a good thing.
Simple and easy. And then
All right, I think, Wade, you got something?
Didn't we get an email, something about, cracks and slabs?
Yeah, we got a report today from Joe Baskerville about, I guess that's was it a slab crack test or something that, that we got from him earlier today?
see that. A slab crack.
Yeah, it was a brake test, a concrete brake test. No, I think it all was good, but we just got that, and I just passed that along to the board earlier today. Woodbury slab concrete brake results.
Or a few cylinders.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of numbers on here, and I'm assuming all that was good is what I'm seeing on this,
Well, it means that.
on this report. We're just wondering what it meant, you know, I don't think I'd ever seen one of those, a slab concrete comprehensive strength test.
There's slump test on there, and there's all kinds of things for concrete.
All right, so you probably got that in your email. I'm gonna go ahead and forward it to you right now. So you should- Yeah, it was later in the afternoon when we got that, 2:52 PM East, Central, so it'd been 3:52 your time is what. And so, all right, so I just forwarded that to you, so you'll probably have 2 copies of that. All right, anything else for Mr. Smitty?
I believe
No.
that's all.
I
Thank
noticed
you.
the hallway is taking section, it's looking good where it's coming together with it.
Yeah, feel free to go over there and talk to Butch. The supervisor is, you know, he'll see you coming in, where to get your name badge, and he'll give you the tour. Mr. Joe Baskerville is also over there a lot, but Butch is the supervisor there. I don't even know Butch's last name. What's that? Higgins. So, Butch will be glad to show you around, board members. You want to go over and look around. We were just over there back a couple days in last week, and I'm just amazed how much has gone on since that point.
so difficult to get out. But once that slab is poured, things begin to happen, so.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you,
Appreciate
Greg.
it.
We appreciate it very much. All right, thank you.
Item number 5 on our agenda tonight is our safety report. Ms. Bonnie?
I sent that to you, and this month I actually had to send it in a folder for you to see the results of the Tennessee Together survey. I have some hard copies here that I can pass around as well. We're asking, we presented this to the coalition. Here. We, talked about this at the Drug Coalition Board meeting about asking, the people that conducted the survey for us to do a one-pager so that it would be easier to use for press releases and that type of thing. Because you have to be really careful about giving out information from the survey, because if you just look at charts and graphs, you may get the wrong message. And so this result was much better than the previous survey that we did. I think it's because of the fidelity of how we gave the survey. I want to thank the high school and the middle school for making sure that procedure was followed. And so the overall message is that we have students that are getting information that things like substance abuse and vaping and those types of things are serious problems, and they're staying away from it overall. Yes, we do have some areas that we need to work on still. It seems like, when kids get to 10th grade and especially 12th grade, the numbers go up, and you wouldn't understand why, because they're older and make choices sometimes. Not always good choices. And there's also a mental health component to this survey this year, which I really was looking into that data, because we've really tried to increase our supports for mental health, and we're always looking for partners. And so when you look at this data, and even though the numbers are low, it's still even one student who's thinking about things like wanting to hurt themselves or depressed or those types of things. One's too many. And so we're going to look at trying to find more opportunities to help students in that area. So good results, good participation, and if you have any questions about that, please see me. But we will be releasing some information to parents and to the press, but we want to work with the partner that did the survey to see if they can do the hard work in getting us this one pager so it's easier for people to understand. Anything else that you were given? I do want to say that we are going to be doing CPR. This was already on the books before the football game where the football player collapsed, but we are doing CPR training January 30th at our in-service day, and Narcan training that afternoon. We also will have Justin Harris, our EMA director, who did a wonderful job at our last coalition meeting. If you haven't been to a drug coalition meeting, you need to come. He did a fantastic job in giving some information, making it real about our community and the problems that we face in our community. So if you want to come hear him, he's going to be there at 12 o'clock on January 30th at Cannon Elementary, Cannon Middle Cafeteria. He's going to do an hour presentation, 45-minute presentation, and then Will Taylor will follow him and do the Narcan training. So it's kind of going to be back to back. I'm just excited about the amount of partnerships that we've created, and I just remember where it was 5 years ago and where we are now, so that's a celebration. Access controls working, that's colored on here, and we're talking about what we're going to do for thinking about next year, and if there's money available, if there's safety grant money, who knows what's going to happen with that, but what we can do to go forward. So if you have suggestions, send those to me. If you have any questions about anything else that I sent you, see me. Thank you.
I want to parry off her statement about coming to the meetings. I encourage everybody, if you can, I know people work, but those meetings have been unbelievable, the guests we've had. There is so much going on out in the communities with all of our different partnerships. And Justin gave a eye-open, strictly eye-opening speech. He said, I'm not a speaker and I'm timid, but let me tell you, he did well and he really presented the facts. And I really like the heart he's got for the community, for people who have a problem. You know, so many people get written off and you come on a scene and he won't even put up with another EMT from somewhere else helping them if he shows any attitude towards the patient. So like, oh, you know, he's just a drug addict. No, they're people first and foremost. And I really think, thank goodness we've got a guy like him running our EMT. So,
And he's one of our own. I remember having
Yep.
him in class, and it's fun to see students that are doing great things for our community. But I'm like you, when he made that statement about how he does not tolerate any of his employees saying negative things, and he made a statement that I have heard from someone out in the field, and it just hurts to hear people say that, because people with addiction are just, could be anyone. Y'all heard me preach this, so we've got to help our kids understand that, help our employees understand that, and keep preaching that message. One last thing, the very last thing on the safety report was about trying to become a Safe Star school district. I saw that on the news, that there were, a thing from the Tennessee Department of Health that you could be, considered bronze, silver, or gold. We do everything, I think, right now, to be gold status. We just had to fill the paperwork out. We are a heart-safe school, which to me is the most important, because that's through Vanderbilt. They come out once a year, make sure that we're in compliance, do the training with our emergency teams. We are a heart-safe school. And Nurse Angel from Vanderbilt is wonderful, and so that's covered. But, you know, it's always good to have more certifications in your tool belt. So that's one thing that I'll be working with Nurse Leslie in a few weeks to try to start working on that paperwork. And I'll have to work with the athletic teams to get that to be in compliance.
last item, the news, some of the counties just now thinking about putting Narcan in their school. We're a year ahead of them. Pretty awesome that we're a small county down here. Got to jump on a problem that now other counties are just now trying to figure it out. I think they lost somebody this past week, I think, from an overdose. I believe.
We also have more AEDs than a lot of schools.
Great.
And that comes as a direct result of working with the coalition on the ground level from the start of the coalition to now. That was not just an overnight thing. Ms. Bonnie did a tremendous job of getting that done, and then with the AEDs and the other things that our principals have aided. So Bonnie, thank you so much for what you have done in the past.
And community owns Glenn Stickley, a real
Absolutely.
Yeah.
a debt of thanks for starting this, and then the way it has even blossomed past that. He's something else.
Right, anything else from anyone on the safety report? Ms. Bonnie, thank you very much. Appreciate you. Item number 6 is the approval to request additional funding from the ELC grant.
It's a tag team between Stephanie
I'm gonna let
and
her
Ms. Bonnie.
This came about last week. The ELC grant is the epidemiology and laboratory capacity grant. The sole purpose of that was to give us the capacity to do COVID testing, to return to school after the pandemic. Things have greatly changed in the last 2 years since we've had this funding. It was originally set to expire June 30th of 2022. They gave us an additional year to spend money. So specifically in Cannon County, and I do want to say this is not an ESSER sub-grant. This is actually a grant that has funneled through the CDC to the Tennessee Department of Health to our school. So specifically for us, what that has allowed is the health clinic at the high school. It has allowed the resurfacing of the parking lots at the high school and now Canton County Elementary and the middle school. We have also had on-demand COVID testing since we began at the beginning of the 21-22 school year. So they have notified us last week that there is money out there, that we just need to submit a plan and request, and it may be granted and it may not. But I wanted to bring that to your attention, and I just want approval to request additional funding. It will still have to be spent by June 30th of this year. I have been in conversation with Ms. Bonnie and Mr. Curtis. Some of the things that we're gonna put together a plan for, I have to actually submit a survey by Friday. Additional AEDs are now approved, so that could potentially put a couple more AEDs in our district. Looking at how many touchless water filling stations we could possibly add specifically to the high school, in Cannon Elementary, Cannon Middle, and then if they will allow us, to expand from there. Supplanting the salary of a nurse for the rest of this year. I mean, they may give us 2,000 and they may give us enough to supplant the salary of a nurse. I really won't know until I actually request the funds and see if we get approval. So I just want to bring that to your attention and actually have approval from the board that it is okay for me to ask for more money. Do y'all have any questions about that?
I'm always against having more money, but it's what we live with.
Thank you very much. Item number 7 is the ESSER report. Okay, Ms. Allen.
On the first bulleted item on my ESSER update, the only thing that changed from December is that TDOE actually changed the due date of our mid-year review for the ESSER public facing plan and the health and safety plan. So I was going to be bringing that to you this month for approval. That now will be next month for approval, and it is due to the department by March 1st. We still have only had 5 responses on our public comment link that is on our district website. However, I do collect information at supervisors meetings, principals meetings, and of course, bringing it to you all in our monthly updates. No changes to ESSER 2. We're on target for spending all of those funds. Just want to remind you that there is still a little over $3,500 allocated for HVAC in ESSER 2, and that has not been encumbered. So just bringing that to your attention so that we don't lose sight of that in the next few months. Same for ESSER 3. There are really no changes, and we have a little over $4,700 that's unencumbered for HVAC. So this is really just where I want to have a conversation. We don't have to make any changes to our spending plan in ESSER 3, but if there is a desire to make changes, just please give me recommendations so that I can reflect that in the spending plan that I bring to you in February. Just a reminder that we do have to maintain that 50% of our allocation for learning loss, our learning acceleration, mental health and wellness, and academic supports. So one of the conversations that has occurred in the last little bit since it was determined that the high school needs a new cooling tower as well is, are we going to allocate any of the ESSER dollars toward that particular project? If so, we're going to have to reallocate from a different line item. And after I've looked at how we have allocated our money thus far, so that we don't risk dipping below that 50% mark, really the only places that we could potentially move money and still be in compliance with the 50% towards academics and mental health is either from the building improvements line item or the indirect cost line item. And I've included how much is allocated there for your so that it's easy to find and you don't have to go back to what I gave you in December. any conversations around that. If it, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. When you say, indirect cost line item, what exactly is that?
Okay, so the indirect cost is actually a percentage determined by the state for each individual grant. Now, all grants don't allow for indirect costs, but ESSER 1, 2, and 3, they do. So based on how we have allocated our money, they give you a percentage of that if it is, say, hiring personnel. So we hire people for RTI, educational assistants. We have allocated money for TNL Corps. It's kind of the cost of doing business that you can't put a price tag to. And whatever they allow, that's the maximum that they allow based on how we have budgeted our money. So with that being said, I wish we'd asked this question when Mr. Douglas was here. He could explain it a little bit better. We don't have to do any kind of, they just give it to us. We don't have to provide any documentation. We don't have to provide receipts or anything of that nature. So for example, even like part of my position being funded, well, the central office has to provide me a space to work. So you can't really put a cost on what electricity I use or using the copier or telephone and things of that nature. So that's why they kind of call it the cost of doing business based. So for example, anything that we have budgeted in capital projects, we don't get to take the percentage of that for indirect cost. It's more like positions that we have to provide a space for them to work and materials for them to work and things of that nature.
Okay.
This $8,227.36, does it have to be bid out on what it's spent on, or can we just?
Are you talking about the remaining amounts in
Yeah,
SU 2
in
and 3?
between the two, yeah.
Okay, so that would not have to be, for this purpose, not necessarily. We just have to make sure that if it's spent on the capital projects, that we have the documentation that the company doing the work meets the Davis-Bacon Act. And of course, I think you guys have, did y'all bid that out though? Yes, so we got the documentation in place for that, so. But with it being federal projects, we have to be in compliance with the Davis-Bacon Wage Act, and they have to provide documentation to Andrea every time they do a payroll, that they are in compliance. Any questions on that? Okay, so then the other thing that I've have added under here, and I used the wrong word when I said it's a technology need for access point upgrades, and I've asked Mr. Medford to speak to that. I put that he's requesting bids. He's not requesting bids yet. He was just really gathering information to try to put together exactly how much that cost is going to be for the district. But I will turn it over to him and let him explain that.
E-rate, category 1, as you know, pays for our internet bill 80%. Every 5 years, there's a recycle of E-rate category 2. And that number is based upon how many students we have that is free reduce. Free reduce.
Yeah.
So that's what it's based upon. Since we're a CEP across the board, we've went up to 85% on category 2 for this year. We have a certain amount of money. I wrote it down, so I was right. Right now, we're eligible for $405,810. Now, we are responsible for 15% of that, if we spend it all. Of course, we probably want to spend that because that's, 15 cents on the dollar. So what I'm asking is if it would be possible to use ESSER funds to pay for the 15%, which could be up to $60,871. Now, what category 2 is mostly used for in Cannon County is to replace access points like that. Those access points that you see right there are currently no longer taking new firmware, which means they are ready to be replaced. So if it was approved, we would replace every access point in the county with new ones. And we would also, we couldn't afford to replace every switch in the closets, but we would start replacing some of the switches with the rest of the funds. Now, how that works is I basically put in a mini bid, and that goes out, and the vendors will bid on it. So I don't know exactly how much it costs, because it goes out to bid. I've got a good number, but, if the board allows some ESSER funds, then we can do this all in 1 year. If not, that's usually spread out, over years, 5 years. And that normally comes out of the tech budget, but if the board would approve it, then that would help us out and allow us to get more technology for the in-classroom instead of the stuff that they normally don't see, these stuff, so. It's just, would it be possible kind of question. That's all I've got. Any questions on how that works?
Would it be possible?
So again, if we reallocate money, one question that I would need to get answered from the State Department, there is a possibility that that could possibly fall into that 50% academics, because we have to have internet access to teach kids. So that would give us a little more flexibility from where we could potentially reallocate that money. But of course, it's gonna have to come from another line item. Otherwise, if they tell me no, that the hardware for the access points would not count in that 50%, those two line items I have listed, it would have to come from one of those two. Again, going back to the indirect cost. So with the indirect cost, that is the percentage that we are allowed. So I don't have the exact figure from last year because it's on a per year basis. So over the ESSER 3, for example, there was more than the 258,000 that was allowed for indirect cost. So based on how much we spent that qualified last year, we got a percentage of that. That goes to your GP budget. So then, based on how much more we spend out of ESSER 3 this year, we get whatever percentage that the state sets. Last year was a little over 11%, and it just goes into your GP budget. So essentially, this is one of those items that you could potentially either get, allocate out of technology, or are there other funding sources that could potentially come out of? I'm not sure, does that qualify for capital? I don't know that that.
Normally, it comes out of technology.
Okay.
Normally, it does. But normally, you wouldn't do it all at once.
Right.
You wouldn't spend
Phase
all
it
of your category two, you would have to phase it in. This year, though, we are gonna have to replace the access points, so we don't have to replace the switches, but if ESSER was able to match the 15%, then I would put out the mini bids for the switches also. So the switches would be PoE switches, power over Ethernet, so that's what's powering your access points, it's what's powering your security cameras, it's also what's powering your new access control controllers. So they're pretty important equipment. You always want to keep them up to date.
Any other questions? On the TNL core, the planning grant and Vets for All, I have no changes to report. I've actually been in Lenore City today for a TNL core convening. I guess this was a joint effort between, there were people from Tennessee State Department of Ed, there were people from TNTP, which is their vendor partner supporting TNL Core. Of course, no one answers this question directly, but what the inference I'm making is that the tutoring initiative, although TNL Core is going away after 1 more year, the funding source of that's going to be finished June 30th of 2024. Lots of us districts are picking up that this is going to be something that the state is going to want districts to sustain without additional funding. I just wanna put that on everyone's radar. I mean, nobody from the State Department has said that, but based on the investments that they're making, the professional development and meetings that they are having statewide, all I know about tutoring in the TISA funding formula, based on that preliminary report that we were given last year, there is a minuscule amount in the TISA funding formula specifically allocated to fourth grade tutoring to meet that fourth grade law. Our amount is a little over $16,000, which is not a lot.
More to come on that one.
Yes,
from the
more to go.
Legislature as part of the TA.
But I had a fabulous training today. It was really good. It's really good. Still no word on the maintenance of equity approval from where I have submitted an exception request because we are in an exceptional situation with restructuring our district. So I'm choosing to believe that no news is good news. Okay. You have any questions?
Thank you very much. Item number 8 on the agenda tonight is the facilities report from Ms. Sissom.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, just a few things that we've actually got accomplished in December was the cooling tower did completely go down at Cannon County High School. I've been working very closely with the insurance company on that. They sent the first guy out. He was very promising about a few things. The traveler insurance guy, which takes care of your large, like boilers and heavy equipment that goes down. He actually come out. He's done a really positive report for us. It's, at this point, it's just, does our insurance cover for a busted coil? Because basically that's what they did rule it. It was a frozen coil. So they're just checking to make sure if we are actually covered under that. If not, he did tell me that we might be covered under property. So if this falls through, then we'll try to go with property. So we're just gonna keep our fingers crossed on that one. The gym floor is completed at Cannon County Middle School and the elementary school. We were able to get back in the gym on January the 3rd. That was a headache, and I rode people very hard to get that done. I got told a lot, no, we're not gonna finish it, but we did. Restrooms at Cannon County High Schools was gutted, the other two. Those are almost complete. I spoke with Mr. Nichols this afternoon. He said, yes, we like another sink and maybe a couple more commodes, and those will be complete. So that'll make a total of 4 remodel bathrooms at Cannon County High School. The rooftop units at North, we still need to talk about that. Are we gonna replace those that needs to be done at North? I truly believe that we need to get those replaced if we can. Before they completely go down, so that's definitely something you guys need to keep on the radar, and especially, you know, if we have some extra money left over after some of these other projects, and that's probably a good one that we need to go on and approve. Today, I did a walkthrough at Short Mountain with the, family that is wanting to buy it from California. They actually wanted their realtor to do that walkthrough, but she was unable, so I was asked to do a FaceTime walkthrough. So we actually did that, and so I think, Mr. Russell will tell you more about it. It was very positive. I think that went very well. The repairs at Cannon County Gym was completed as of today. We had those units that you guys had approved earlier about, you know, getting those units in the gym fixed. That was actually, I spoke with him this afternoon. Those are completely done. There is one little small issue that we will have to fix on it that they did not see because it was behind the fan. So that will not be a large amount of money, but we will have to get that fixed. But I was telling Courtney that today we actually have 3 of those fully running, so that's a positive. The other one should run, but it's a control issue. So again, we'll have to bring Train in on that. That's a control issue that they cannot fix for us. So we will have an expense with Train coming and pulling that unit into our system. The tower at Cannon County Middle, we all was aware that it, during that cold week, it actually, a heat trace did not work, so it busted the return water. And, we had a mess on hand. It burned up that unit, it burned up a heater inside the base of the tower. So it's been fun, but Train has actually fixed every bit of it and got the other parts on order, no expense. So that was another big headache, but we're on the way of getting that done. They actually was there today as well to fix that. So we'll just make sure that those heat traces have to be working. The water was not a good situation there. That could have been really bad, but we'll just have to stay on that more often. Oh, I was told that that unit or that tower actually takes care of itself most of the time. So they didn't foresee their line not holding up, so when it busted that line, then the cooling tower just went into orbit. So we lost all the water in the cooling tower, and that's what burned up the heater in the base. But they have now seen that that was not on us. That was definitely, from the pipe. So that is all getting replaced ASAP. I think that we've done some other unexpected things that come up. I know the senior citizens building, had a line. We thought that was actually a bad situation. I called the gas company, the electric company to get them out there. Rex thought it was actually a busted line. When the city come to tell us where the lines was, so we could start digging, they actually volunteered to jet that out for us, and they jetted it out immediately. They were back up and going. So that ended up not being, thank you for the city of Woodbury for doing that, because they actually jetted it with no cost to me or you guys. So that line's up and going, to my knowledge, right? So that was not a big deal for me at that time, but we thought it was going to be.
Billy, the windows replaced at south, what are we looking timeframe there?
Well,
Getting those orders and getting those,
Yeah, that's gonna be a time frame deal.
Okay.
Like, that's been 6 months to even get the fire marshal to approve
right,
it.
and now probably another 6 months getting the ones.
Right. So, but they're on the way, they're ordering on the way, and so that should take time for itself. Fire marshal is coming actually on Thursday to do the high school and Kenny County Elementary Middle, so we hope that goes well.
We hope so.
It could be. Any questions for Ms. Dixon?
So you had somebody leave,
Oh, I did.
so
Taylor
have you got
Ford
somebody
left.
back? Have you hired somebody?
Yes, sir, I did. I hired, Mr. Kevin is it
Pickett.
Pickett? Okay, Pickett. He actually is the one that built Miss Costy's 3 rooms and put the divider up, and he's actually done, the nursing station at the high school. He did that, and that's definitely gonna be a blessing to us, cause he does all the construction work, door handles, he can do a little of everything. He said he can do sinks, and he don't like to do commodes, set them, but he said he'll know how to do it, so. Anyway, he's a construction man.
And
So he starts
downstairs,
tomorrow.
downstairs, 90% of that renovation downstairs, Mr. Pickett did on everything that was done downstairs, so,
Down here, you come.
we're talking about down in what we did on everything downstairs. 90% of that, not 100% of that was done by Mr. Pickett.
So I'm excited about having him on board. He'll be able to do a lot of construction stuff that I need done anyway, so.
And he's already started.
He starts tomorrow. Mhm. Taylor's last day was on Friday, so he actually starts tomorrow. Yeah, I'm excited.
What's the status of the gas costs at the high school?
Well, we haven't got this month's bill. It's been running 5,000 every time.
I mean, what are we gonna do? I mean, what's the plan to fix
Well,
that?
I mean, that's on that,
Yes,
ESI plan, and if they don't hold up to their end of the deal, they'll have to start paying us back. I mean, that's not part of the deal. They're supposed to be saving us money with all these upgrades that we did. So if they do not fix that situation, they're gonna be owing us a lot of money. They did come and put in their back net boards, which the guy said, I think that that's what's causing it. I truthfully can't believe a board is causing a $5,000 gas bill. But it
It
can,
could, chip
well-
could,
If you're 100%, if it's telling it to fire 100% all the time,
yeah.
and you're calling for 36,000 BTUs.
well, and
and
hopefully
you
this
don't
month
need
it'll
but
be good.
10% of that, and
Yeah.
you could be running about 3,600 BTUs. Yeah, it'll run your gas up majorly.
Well, hopefully they put them in, so we'll see
I
this
can't believe
month.
they shipped it and I didn't put the right chip in it. You know,
I know in a surrounding county, this occurred, and they went in and changed it, and it corrected the problem. Now, whether that's ours will remain to be seen, so maybe we'll see how January's
Yeah, we'll
go.
have to wait till we get it.
Knowing that when those boards were put in, Melanie got information, from that point on, you can go back and check the gas bill
Yeah.
from that point on, so.
the bill for that 1 week would be telling.
Absolutely, it'll say whether it did, or like Derek said, if it's going full blast, then it's going full blast, and then all of a sudden you go down then to 10% out of, you've been running 100, you'll notice, should be a 90% drop in that efficiency.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lisa. We appreciate you. Item number 9 on our agenda tonight is an update concerning Skyward. Ms. Lisa?
Okay, so we have, currently 1,760 kids in Canton County. The state is showing us was 1,730, which is about a 31, which is about a 29 different students, which we have new students that come in and students that left. And the way it works with Skyward and EIS, we can't remove a student until we get a request from the other school. So we have to wait. So we're holding kids, and so there's some it's fluctuating right now because of Christmas, and then kids move around a lot during this time. That's where we're at. We're looking pretty good. We're still meeting each week and working on things. Trying to get them knocked out as fast as we see them.
So did Skyward ever come in and do,
They have not, and they postponed, weren't doing any training, they didn't have the staff to do training, and they shut their training down, and then they said they were gonna do it in January, and I left them a couple of messages, and I haven't.
That was my question.
Yeah, so we can keep trying, but, yeah, they think that we can do all of this online, they don't want to come here. Even though we're willing to pay, it'd be about 10,000, but I think we can do it online. All the time.
and I'm assuming we pay for their services.
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Well, then they should come here if that's what we need. In my opinion.
I agree, but I think they're having a staffing problem. And, I mean, you can always change vendors, but all launches.
Wouldn't we be like that?
It's really, really hard. That's the thing.
Any other questions for Ms. Black? All right, thank you very much, Ms. Lisa. Item number 10 tonight on our agenda, he's waiting very patiently. It's from Mr. Stephen Russell. And he's here to give us an update regarding the Short Mountain Elementary School property.
So our buyer for Short Mountain has requested an extension to next Friday, January 27th to close. Due to the IRS placing a hold on their funds, until it's been resolved by putting a payment plan in place. Anytime you hear the IRS.
This don't sound very promising.
It does, I'm about to drop my phone. So I'm told that the hold would be lifted tomorrow, and the release takes up to 7 days. And, so, with that being said, I requested, that they add more additional earnest money to be non-refundable, should we, proceed with giving them, extension. So they came back with they're offering another $30,000, so that's a total of $100,000. Should they not close by next Friday? $100,000 is yours.
Thank you.
So we see them on the news, we got 100,000.
We don't want to.
But you say it right.
Exactly, that's my question.
I asked a lot of questions about the IRS, and I mean, that's all I got, that they set up a payment plan. I mean, I would hate for these folks to lose $100,000.
Yeah, really.
But they believe, dealing with their what they call it,
Attorney.
a tax advocate, the tax advisor,
Really?
that everything will be fine.
Like I guess.
This is real estate at its best.
Melanie, they seem real comfortable today.
They did seem very comfortable. Matter of fact, she asked me to give her the phone number to Middle Tennessee Electric, that she's ready to switch the electric over as soon as the money's released. She wanted the gas company. She said, do you think we can do this, immediately? Like, she doesn't want the electricity cut off. She wants to just switch it immediately. So the day that we sign, she wants me to be able to tell the electric company that they own that building, so she can just switch it. She led me to believe that they were going for it, so I'm like.
Yeah, and then they signed off on their final inspection.
Yeah, today
On
I
their
walked
final
through that
inspection.
school with, I walked through the school with FaceTime today. I showed her ceiling tiles, I showed her floor, she knows all the issues, and she still signed off that she was happy with the walkthrough today. I did all I could do. I even showed her ceiling tiles that was shifted back, but she was happy. I said, they're up there, they're just shifted back.
About how old is this couple?
How old is this couple?
You think, how old do you think they are?
Oh, I know how old they are. They talked a lot to me when I met them. He's 56, she's 52, I think, if I remember right. Yeah. She was a real estate in California. He was a contractor.
Okay.
They retired early. So.
Maybe too early.
They'll contact you tomorrow, when those funds are released, you'll know that.
So it could take up to 7 days. So it may be early next week, that's what we're hoping. As soon as we know the funds are available, then we'll schedule closing.
Okay.
Like 7 days from today?
7 days from tomorrow, like 18.
Okay.
Yeah, so they added a couple extra days on there just in case something goes wrong. They may want to add a little bit more.
I was going to say, a couple of days.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're saying by probably the 31st, the 30th, the 31st, is that what you're saying, Steve?
No.
Are you saying by the 27th?
About 27.
It's 28th on a Saturday, so.
Yeah, 27 next Friday.
It ain't many weeks to make $30,000 in 8 days, so.
Tell me about it.
Well, it's 100,000 total. If they don't close, we get $100,000.
They added, yeah.
That's gonna be worth my troubles out of all this time.
And see, they're putting that 30,000 up to protect that 70,000.
Right.
That 70,000 becomes available tomorrow, so that, well, if they don't close tomorrow, it becomes available on the 19th.
Okay.
So they believe in their situation. I don't know how to say it.
Wow.
You can all your laser messages.
Yeah,
Thank you so
this
much.
was a tough pill to swallow.
So we just have to vote on this Thursday night if it ain't closed before then. We need to vote on it.
Well, they would have to vote on extending the loan closing from, what was it, Stephen, the 17th,
The 18th.
the 18th to the 27th
Correct.
is what you would be, and authorize me to sign all papers in relation to the loan, to the closing. Yeah. So that'd be the motion, is to move from the loan closing on the 18th to the 27th, and authorize me to sign all papers in regard to.
Tomorrow's 13th. We don't vote tonight.
We don't vote tonight.
No, but it would be, was the closing on the 17th or 18th, Stephen?
It was the 18th, but we was gonna close it a day early. We was gonna go ahead and close our side. And they're doing it Bellaway.
So you just vote to move the closing from previous date to the 27th, even though the board's gonna be meeting on the 19th, we still have authorization to move that closing from there to the 27th.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And then what we'll do, they'll want the copy of the closing, the title company will want a copy of the minutes of this meeting on the 19th, and we can get that to them on the 20th and say, this is the copy of the minutes. And
All I know is they're gonna do the amendment, just the closing date amendment, the extension.
okay.
I talked to Anita with TriStar, so she understands we're not closing tomorrow.
All right, thank you very much. Item number 11 on our agenda this evening is an update from Mr. Wesley Foster on the Woodbury FFA Learning Lab Experimental Farm at Canning County High School. I'm excited because
I've actually got-
what's in my backyard.
I've got three things on the agenda tonight. The first one is, I know I came here last year to ask you guys about cleaning up the property in behind the high school, and we've actually completed that now. And I know that whenever I came that time, we agreed that FFA would pay to have it cleaned up. If you guys, if the school system ever wanted to repurpose it for anything later on down the road, all we would ask for is what we had invested in it to be refunded. So I've got the receipts for all that. I don't know if you all want to see it, if who needs it, how that works. Like I said, now, in this also, I'll go ahead and just give everybody a copy. I've got pictures of everything that was done. And if you haven't been back there, I know that we had our CTE Advisory Council meeting a few weeks ago, and some of you were able to attend with that, and we all went out back and kind of seen where we cleaned up and everything. But it's actually kind of, it looks really, really good now that it's sowed down with grass, and it's kind of total opposite of what it was this time last year. But that was the first step to actually what some of my other agenda items are tonight. We are, do you want to talk about so Bill Lee came out back in the summer, and came out with the ISM grant, which is basically he's trying to reimagine how CTE programs operate here in schools in Tennessee. Each high school gets $1 million, middle school gets $500,000. So basically what the FFA or the Ag Department we requested for is we basically wanted to start a small farm here. So the way we map it out and everything, we've got about 10 acres. It's somewhere between 8.5 to 10 acres that we're going to have available for that. I've got more quickly. Like I was saying with the innovative school model, what we're proposing, or actually it's already been approved by the Department of Education and by Bill Lee's innovative school models and everything. Like I said, we're trying to start our own farm there at the high school, which we've got everything kind of lined out through the innovative school model. We're getting everything that we would need to operate it, and that's including a tractor, bush hogs. There's funding in there that we're going to be constructing, whether you want to call it a barn or a sales lab room, whatever, sales office, front office, or whatnot. So with that, I've got it on there. We had someone, or a contractor, or not contractor, but architect, draw up kind of sketches what we're planning on putting onto the current pavilion back there. Like I said, it will have a 40 by 40, we're calling just a meeting room, whether we might need it for, we might actually be raising livestock inside of it. We might be doing whatever. There's a sales office in there. Where we're wanting to eventually make it where we can sell like Pick Tennessee products, anything that we raise there, whether it might, if we can finally get livestock there, if we grow sweet corn, if we grow any kind of whatever we decide that we can grow there with our 8 to 10 acres that we can put in production. Like I said, we just got the architect kind of drew those up for us here the last week or so. We just got those last week. Actually, it was last Monday or something. But you can kind of see where we're wanting it. On the back page, I drew out in a red line around the property that we will have back there that will be available to us. We're wanting to fence it off, which that's part of the grant too. They're giving us enough money to fence off the back property. That way, if we do want livestock, whether it be goats, sheep, cattle, whatnot, we can do that. So basically what I need from you guys is, I guess, just your blessing on whether or not we're able to build the building to attach to the current pavilion that we have. What else am I missing, Ms.
I
Christie?
think that's it. That's really, we have you've contacted Sourcewell. We have, we know we're aware of the bidding process. We've talked to Douglas, and Diane and the whole crew about what we need to do. Sourcewell is, I'm actually skipping way ahead because that's agenda item number 19, but it's part of this. They are a government.
It started out, the state of Minnesota started this Sourcewell. It's called Sourcewell, Minnesota. And basically what they do is they go with different companies. So instead of us going, for what started this was whenever we was looking at the tractor and the implements for the farm, we contacted Tri-Green. They wrote us up a quote and everything, and they was like, why don't you put this through Sourcewell? And we're like, what is Sourcewell? And basically, the state of Minnesota has contracted through directly to John Deere. So you skip Tri-Green, you skip dealers, you buy direct from the company, and we're buying it at cost. So whenever we went to, got the source, he said, well, I'll draw it up for Sourcewell, and it was gonna save us like $15,000 right off the bat on the, equipment that we was gonna be purchasing.
And Douglas has he's contacted them and we have a login and everything for them. For all of this.
So, and the way the Sourcewell works, so we still put our order in through Tri-Green, which is our local John Deere dealership. They send it to Sourcewell. We log on to Sourcewell and accept their
bid or
whatever you want to call it. And supposedly through Sourcewell, we don't have to do the bidding process where you've got to have the sealed bid. That's what Mr. Jennings, I wish he would have stayed here. Which he researched all this, so it just kind of does away with, because you're dealing directly to John Deere or whatnot for the prices. We got on there, and there's a lot of, like, Bluebird, school buses, everything, I mean, yeah, Ford Motor Company, I mean, like, all your major businesses, and basically somebody's already brokered the bids, they've brokered everything on there. Might wanna check on your technology stuff on there, because there's.
CDW, like, they're on there, like, they're on Sourcewell too.
Okay, so do you do anything with Sourcewell, or have you ever used it?
But most of our stuff is either on state contract or federal.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's basically what this is a state and federal contractors, through the Sourcewell too, but he said that you guys would have to approve us to make the purchase through Sourcewell, and then it would be sent to the commissioners meeting, and then they would have to approve it at their next meeting.
So part of that too, I guess agenda item 12 would be the pole barn, like going ahead, we're gonna have to outsource that, we're gonna have to get bids on that. So that's what number 12 is referencing, I guess giving us approval to go ahead and start that process to get that pole barn started.
And the fencing,
I'm sorry,
and the fencing, or?
the fencing falls, I think, just under the bid price.
Yeah, so with the fencing, what we had worked in our budget, we can do it one of two ways. Way number one is we do it as a class, and I mean, that's basically what we are, is, you know, trying to learn those skills of fencing and trades and stuff like that. And, with the amount that we have budgeted, we can do the entire area. But the bids that I received, if we outsourced it to other people, we would only be able to do about half of it. So if we did it ourselves, which once, if we get the Sourcewell bid and all that, we would have all the equipment and everything that we would need to do it ourselves. And once again, that's, if you ask me what CT is all about, is learning those trades of fencing, plumbing, welding, whatnot. So.
Do you guys have any questions about the grant or what our plan is for?
And this is just part of the
This is
grant.
just a portion,
It's not, we're not getting the whole 1 million or anything.
You would like.
This is our first phase.
Well, I tried, but. I was told to wish, and they can always take off of my wish list, and I mean, it worked out pretty nice for me, so.
Understood.
So,
Understood.
I was told to wish, and they can always take off of my wish list, and I mean, it worked out pretty nice for me, so.
So you need approval, for the construction of the pole barn.
We need approval to go ahead and start that bid process.
Okay.
And they have to do the bid process, right? The sealed bids. and
Right, we'll
all
work
that.
with Diane and they'll post it and,
And then the other thing that, which I don't really, we kind of looked into it, is the architect engineering. I know any any building that is constructed by the school system, has to go before the architect engineer. We have someone that's doing these for other schools that, we've been in
Just
contact.
piggybacking off of those.
Yes,
All these are ADA compliant. I just looked down through that. Board members, all of this is ADA compliant.
yes.
All this is looking at utilizing proper construction means. What I'd probably like to do is just have Gregor look over this. He'll do it, just look over it. We're gonna do that because others have already got this approved from their own boards and other
Correct.
things.
And it was, whenever we first done this, they, we kind of, I say we, as in me and Miss Haley had the idea to do this, and now there's actually a lot of counties that
I've reached out.
really kind of piggybacking
And
off.
342 Architect is a well-known architect. I mean, it's that, they've got the license, they've got it all.
But I think, like I said, I think y'all have to approve us to use them as our architect and engineer and all that, so.
And our projected costs too have been rolled into that architect and engineer and their rendering as well.
I'd just, have Gregor look at that and go on that. He's going to sign off on it, no big deal.
Any questions, like I said, whatever you guys are thinking, what are concerns
You were
or?
fixing to say something about other schools.
Yeah, well, I had a lady reach out, what was her building? Hers was bigger, 100 by 100.
Yes.
Double block.
There's some schools trying to do the actual pavilion that we have at this time.
With that.
Yes.
And they've been quoted about
So,
600,000.
and we're very fortunate because we've already got that step
Right.
completed, so
Right.
we're trying to move on to the next
Mhm.
step. And really, whenever y'all first started, which Mr. Nichols was part of that original pavilion, it was supposed to have this building on it whenever they first started, and funds kind of,
Drifted.
yes.
Might be nice, Mr.
I'm thankful for this opportunity to, get this, finish this classroom onto that.
Not a classroom.
Or not a classroom, excuse me, this addition,
Facility, yeah.
this facility onto that, so yes. We'll just leave it.
Laboratory. Facility.
So you're gonna have the pavilion and a pole barn.
Yes, and like well, it's not really a pole barn, it's gonna be a sealed off, more of a sealed building. Whenever I think of a pole barn, I think of an open frame, whatnot, but it's gonna have bathrooms in it, it's gonna have basically a conference room and a sales room.
So, Crystal, should I put this on a retail sales?
This is what we
building?
currently have.
It's what the
We've already
architect-
got this,
Okay, I
that's
think you're
already.
gonna put a pole barn.
No, this is all, so the big open building is what we already have back there, and the building off to the side is what we're.
On the page, yeah.
So it should probably be called a retail sales
Right,
building.
right.
That's what we're.
So you want that motion to change instead of a
Right,
pole
right.
barn to
That'd be great.
a retail sales
We're gonna get
building?
it
These
closed
pole
in.
barns.
Yeah, that, I think of an open, kind of like the pavilion like we
And it's
have.
a meeting room, which will be slant classroom from Mr. Nichols' era.
So it will actually contain 2 rooms that are almost the exact same size as this room here.
Retail sales facility, is that legit? Would that be the proper nomenclature?
And so, we started on trying to get this put together back in probably May sometime. It was in the spring, yeah. And, so like the retail room, we're hoping to eventually get where we can sell like USD inspected meat. We've already got, other grants lined up that will pay for the freezers or whatever we need for that room and stuff like that, so. Like I said, we've spent a lot of time trying to get all this.
You're talking about meat that you were raised on the property.
That's what we're trying to eventually
Right.
get to, yes, sir.
And we've been in contact with, they've been in contact with the USDA certified butcher.
how to
and,
do
you know,
it.
it's somebody-
Like, we can't process it ourselves, we just carry it to a processing facility that one day a week they have a USDA inspector there that puts his stamp on it,
Mhm.
so.
The wording of the wording on the ISM, So, you know, or of that, should it be retail sales facilities, that's what's in the grant, or are y'all that, are
I'm,
they?
we're calling it a farm lab, like the whole environment out there. So, you know, with the fencing and the cattle and the building, it's all to us a farm lab.
Okay,
So however you wanna word that.
I'll do that, retail sales facility, slant farm lab.
Okay, she asked when we think we could get started on
We're
this.
hoping.
Alright, I will say this, like, the equipment, supposedly Tri-Green, whenever I contacted them 2 weeks ago, and I said, look, that's what we wanna do with the source well and everything. Supposedly everything for the equipment is sitting at Tri-Green in Murfreesboro, so they're waiting on the county commissioners to say, yes, we can purchase it, and they said as soon as they get approval, they'll start moving the equipment here. As for the building, the engineer and architect, which they done the renderings, I would say they probably already done the other stuff, but I told them to wait until after we had our meeting but he said that he thinks within a few weeks we'd have all the architect and engineering stuff done, and then I guess as soon as we get the bids, put
Go through the
in.
bid process.
In my mind, I would realistically think that we should be finished sometime at least this time next year. If not, maybe by the first of school, beginning of the school year, as in next school year, I hope. Yeah,
So,
The end of the 24-25.
so this is a grant, so I haven't heard any dollars. What do you expect to get?
we're getting 1.5 million.
We were approved December 22nd.
Nice Christmas
But
present.
you don't get all of it.
The FFA ag is not getting all of that, no.
No.
That's
Are you asking what the total cost with the ag portion?
I thought what portion he was gonna get.
It varies. So the building itself is gonna take 10% of the high school portion, so that's right at 100,000. So for the building section, and then fencing, tractor, equipment, we're looking probably about another 150. Yeah.
And then we
And then we
purchased,
have a portion that's gonna go to the ag shop also, so we're doing CNC machines, setting them up with, the whole welding system. But that's
we went
separate.
together with other clubs too on like, the vans, I guess.
We're buying some, vans for CTE, and we're starting to use
The
kids.
stage,
Right, we're using the stage for our presentation
yeah,
programs.
we've ordered a portable stage for
So
different.
those things are gonna be holistically CTE use.
Y'all make a profit on the greenhouse every year?
Yes, sir, or we wouldn't do it.
I think once you break
Not
even,
not just a circus, yeah.
Yeah.
So
But-
he's gonna utilize his 100,000, and then
So,
if needed, we're gonna get it dried in and.
I didn't know what I was getting, I didn't know what you used that money for. I know you,
so
for odds and ends.
I'll be, we fundraise a lot, but we also do a lot, like tonight, my other two teachers are at a contest tonight, and you can ask Mr. Nichols or anyone, FFA, we have a contest nearly every week.
I can just give you a rough estimate, this was over 5 years ago, okay? It would take $80,000 to run that ag program,
A year,
a year,
yes.
and we would run.
We are not given
I,
80,000 for.
We would have to fundraise and do all that, the greenhouse sales and the plant.
You take-
the fruit sales.
and the tractor pull that we've started here, that has been a huge blessing to us also. A prime example for that, the cost to go to national convention for us is usually around $500 a student. I charge $200 a student, so the tractor pull covered over $300 a student, and we carried 36, I think, to national convention. State convention will be probably around the $400 a student, and we're gonna charge around $200 for it also. But I have a lot of kids that work really hard too. So
I went to the CTE presentation and I loved it. And I mean, it's one thing to hear him, say we want this, but some of the kids that, that are in FFA talked about it and they're really excited about it. So that, and the FFA is very popular. It says you have 45% of the student
We have about
population
45%
at
of them.
CCHS is in FFA. So, and those kids do, they work really hard. They're not afraid to get their hands dirty. And,
In fact, some landscaping on this building was been
Yes.
done by.
they seem, really
Horticultural class.
excited.
And Ms. Crystal brought this up a while ago, so we're allowed to spend 10% on building materials to build this out of this grant. And then what we have discussed too is we're gonna take that 10%, go as far as we can, and then after next year's tractor pull, if we've got any money left over, then we'll continue on until we get it completed. So we realize it might not be exactly what it looks like in that picture, but we know that we're gonna eventually get there.
You'll get there someday.
Yes, and hopefully sooner rather than later, but.
And we have a carpentry class that could lend a hand.
And that's one thing too, like we've talked about before, just like the fence, and a lot of that building there, once you get the framework and all that done, like if you do metal siding, I mean, that's something that if seniors in high school can't hang metal siding on the side of a building, then we're in trouble. So,
And I mean, as far as your competitions go, I mean, you've got some pretty impressive awards through those.
tonight's contest, we had job interview, prepared speaking, extemporaneous speaking, and Creed speaking. There's 7 schools in our district. We got first in prepared and job interview, and we were second in extemp and Creed speaking. And both of those will be moving on to the next round next Thursday. So, but like I said, we stay busy, very active.
Thank you so much. This is exciting. Yes. It's a very,
Uh,
very exciting.
Like that, the source well stuff, that was basically, y'all just have to approve that we can make the purchase through that, and the other would be whether or not we can make that building on school property or whatnot. I do have another question too, so the fencing, if we do fence it, opinions on, do you go plumb to the property line? Do you?
You have to stay so many.
Yeah, you don't have to stay within, that's right, because that gets, you start getting into.
And I understand that, so,
Being on the line, you get into problems with your neighbor.
yes, ma'am.
But
So-
you're best
to
to know
stay
how much you can fence.
Well, the reason why I asked
You'll
it,
need to go to the city's
BZA.
okay,
Okay.
and the reason why I asked, whenever we was cleaning up the property, one of the property owners came out and they was like, you realize that fence row is not the property. And I was like, look, man, we're cleaning up, I'm not even gonna touch that fence row there, and they was like, that's not the property line there. And, I was like,
And it gets into, if your fence is on the line, if the neighbor wants to do something, they have the right, because
Yeah.
technically it's.
well, typically, I know in the
So,
country
back
though,
to-
usually if you put up a fence, then one neighbor pays for half and the other neighbor pays for half is the way it works, but I'm not asking for.
That's
Welcome
the
to the
line,
city
but-
limits of
That would be a little
So
different.
that was gonna be my question,
and
how far
county
y'all wanted to,
BCA and.
do I push
The
it to the
politics
limit that
of-
they tell me to go, do I back off?
I'd back off a little to be able to say.
Okay.
We'll look at that, and
Locates.
we'll get our attorney involved, and look at that, and see
Okay.
what we would have to do when you get to that point.
And like I said, I'm not, what,
BZA,
no, I was just
BZA,
wanting to know what we needed to do, how far we needed to go, because some people say, get as close as you can or whatnot, that's our property, whatever it is.
and you'd have to look at your survey information and what was there and where your boundaries are, and
One of the funniest things, talking about neighbors, whenever we first started cleaning it up, we had a lot of feedback about how we was destroying the deer population habitat in our area. And
I'm sorry,
we,
covered the other
whenever
day.
they was out there the other day, we counted, was there 14, 15 bucks and does and stuff like that back there too, so.
I see that, so.
All right.
Yep.
Any more questions? We covered, I think, quite well, item 11 and 12. And number 19 was discussed there. Are there any more questions from any board members to them about item number 19, the purchase and agreement with Sourcewell?
if I can, Madam Chairman, Crystal, this is to approve this portion
Right.
of the ISO, not the total ISO.
Right.
This portion of the ISO, because she's gonna come back and have multiple presentations about where the rest of that $1 million goes for County High School and where the $500,000 goes for Cannon County Middle School. So this is her first presentation of
It's our first phase.
many.
Any questions about item number 19? Anybody have any questions about that agreement with Sourcewell?
Don't have any questions, I just have comments that, not really, if you're familiar with government jobs and different things, contracts, not really the best. If you want bids, it's not actually the cheapest.
Well, we bid it out specifically every piece of the tractor, every piece of equipment that we needed, that he has here. And then we went to Sourcewell, or the gentleman Tri-Green did, and bid it out based on those specific prices. And it saved us, it was not quite 15,000. I think we're looking at about 85,000 now for the tractor and the finished mower and the UTV and all of the large equipment that we were gonna use, to maintain that land.
So, some of these quotes I realized was done back in the summer when we was trying to get prices put together for this. So the front page, the very front page is the Sourcewell quote, and that is the latest quote, and that's got all of the implements and, attachments and everything that, and then, like I said, I went to Kubota, I went to, Brothers Implement, their quote's not in here, he just wrote it down on a sheet of paper, but I didn't include it. Eagleville Implement, and then the original Tri-Green quote is in there also, before we went to the Sourcewell, whenever they was just running us under the Tennessee government rate. And you can see the difference between the Sourcewell John Deere quote and the John Deere quote, beginning. So you take the Sourcewell quote for the tractor that we're getting, their price under Sourcewell is $34,700. The quote under the Tennessee Gov rate was $38,650. So it was $4,000 cheaper through Sourcewell on the same piece of equipment, going through Sourcewell instead of going through the Tennessee government rate. Which some of the smaller stuff, it might be a little bit more, like the pallet forks, for some reason, under Sourcewell was more expensive, but it was like a few $100s whenever you look at the tractor that you save $5,000 or $4,000 or whatnot. So, I think whenever we did the math, it ended up being like $16,000-$17,000 cheaper to buy everything under the Sourcewell. And this is all John Deere name brand stuff. This is not, generic or anything like that, so.
Where will it be stored?
Do what?
Where will the stuff be stored?
The building that we're,
The
that barn.
pavilion until the building is finished.
Correct. The building that I was asking permission for, there's a 20-foot shed on the back of it that all the implements will be stored in once it gets completed. But we actually have 5 garage bays there at the high school too, that we can put them in our garage or in that pavilion until we get the building complete or whatnot. I'm a firm believer, if you own something, it should be put up, so.
I think it will last longer.
Yeah, you can ask Jessica, we never have a piece of equipment sitting out in the rain or anything at my house, so I try to do the same thing here in school, so.
Thank you guys very much. Very excited about this.
Does that answer your question about the Sourcewell bid, Miss? Okay.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 13. That is the explanation of discussion of instructional partnerships in Canyon County schools. I believe Dr. Milton might need to.
I was asked, or told it was there. I'm not exactly sure what you're looking for. I can start talking about things.
I think, just after some conversations, and questions that arose, this came from me. We just want to understand what partnerships we have, what are their purposes, and how they run. Just so we can understand how to explain this to people.
Well, you've already heard a couple of other programs already say that they're thankful for their partnerships, and we're thankful because these impact instruction and core instruction in the classroom. So I'm gonna sort of give a timeline as I go along to sort of tell you how we got involved in them. Overall, we have 4 ELA partnerships and 2 math partnerships going on right now. The first one happened the spring of 2020. And we know what was happening in the world in March of 2020, but also in Cannon County, when you think about what was happening with our budget, we were right in the middle of our big ELA standards update. Plus, we were purchasing a new ELA adoption materials too. The budget was under some very heavy cuts. We lost all of our support as far as instructional coaches and other support like that. Actually, some RTI coach, lots of different support. So Dr. Sharon Roberts, she is one of the chief executives for the SCORE organization. SCORE, let me make sure I get this right, is the State Collaborative on Reforming Education, founded by former Senator Prisk, who is committed to making education better in Tennessee. And through that, their partnership with LIFT, that's Leading Innovation for Tennessee, was started by several superintendents of school that said, we want to be innovative, but we also want excellence in our school districts across Tennessee. So Mr. Curtis was invited to be a part of that LIFT network, which is really sort of an honor to be included in that with other directors who are like-minded thinking forward. So that partnership is called LIFT. We were so excited because they were going to come in and help us provide professional development, help support our teachers with our brand new materials implementation. So we gladly accepted that. It is paid through by an anonymous donor. We don't know who pays for that, for the additional school systems that came on board. So we're thankful for that. It's been a year-to-year thing. We're being sort of told, we were told a couple of months ago that it probably wasn't going to be renewed for another year. But now they're talking that maybe they might tweak it and we might have some funding for the next year. I'm going to leave with you just so you can see LIFT Education, SCORE, TNTP. Ms. Stephanie talked about TNTP as one of the ones that's providing professional development for the all core group that she's doing, and that will sort of give you an idea of how we've gotten into these partnerships. It looks like this is probably the new normal for the State Department of Education to offer these push-in supports rather than offering big, wide, statewide initiatives and all. So you'll be able to see the other school districts that are involved just in that LIFT partnership. So then what happened with us is while we were rolling out the new ELA standards, there are new skills standards for grades K 1 and 2. And with that, the State Department was rolling out a course for all teachers to take, a literacy course, and it's required to get your license renewed too. They've since added a secondary literacy, but at that time we only thought it would be early literacy. So we found out we wanted to help our teachers not to have to drive to another school district or whatever to take this course, the one that's in person, the second week course. So we said, sure, we'll host it in Cannon County. Well, by hosting it, we automatically got this grant to support us in our K2 literacy, because those are extra, the sounds first, and what we used to call phonics, but so much more. That does come through ePlan, and it does support the organization, which happens to be TNTP too. So we don't see any of those funds, it's just a flow through. We have the contract with TNTP, and it just flows through, and they send us the invoice and we pay it. It doesn't cost our school district anything, we just have those flow through funds. The other thing that happened at the same time was the Literacy Implementation Network. Once again, as we're thinking about leveraging all of these high quality materials that we have for ELA and how to best make that work. That was a competitive grant. Once again, we don't see the funds, it just flows through, we got to select it. The way that network and partnership works is that you either apply to be a mentor group, which we didn't feel like we were ready for that. There are districts that are much more highly effective in the way that they're doing things that we need to partner with them. So first we were put with Putnam County, then Trousdale County as our mentor district, and then we landed with Trousdale. So we're in the group with Trousdale. They're our mentor group, Clay County, Van Buren County, Pickett County, Smith County, us and Trousdale are all. So we met today. Once again, they're there to provide district support to us, come in and do professional development with our teachers. We do learning walks with all of these grants, but we don't compound them. If one school is getting a lift learning walk and one school is getting an ELN, they probably don't even know the difference of what grant is supporting that. That one is the largest grant. It's about $80,000 and it's the longest grant. It's for 5 years. So 48 districts in the state got that grant. Wilson County got that grant. Their partner is Sumner County is their mentor county for that. There's only a very little discretionary funds that we're allowed to use for materials to support that grant, and that pays for things like teachers who just got their list together, maybe chart paper, maybe if they're needing some, we've got so many books, we really didn't need books, some technology that they can use in the classroom and things like that. And then one other partnership that we have, because all of those that I mentioned are K-5, because we just know that if we don't get the foundation of reading right, it doesn't matter what we do in middle school, and it doesn't matter what we do in high school, because it all feeds up. So if we don't send them a better student, for better words, they can't do what they need to do too. But we didn't want to leave them out, and some past things that we did with professional development and learning walks, we knew that middle grades was really sort of our bright spot in ELA, and we were sort of mirroring some of the things that we had done with them. So we have a partnership with the CORE office, TDOE. The CORE office are the regional offices, centers of regional excellence. And so ours is Upper Cumberland. And so there's no cost to us, but it redefined how the state was rolling out their work with us. And it very much mirrors, once again, I've got you some homework, some reading that you can look up, and then if you have questions for me on Thursday night, you can ask them. But this article right here will be the one that will tell you the most about how it works. So that's the ELA. So then we're gearing up for a math adoption. We're going to get new math standards and all. So the State Department, I guess, has really liked this model that it's already done. So they are rolling out the high quality instructional materials math implementation. Once again, these are just flow through funds. We don't get any funds for Cannon County. It goes straight, the vendor sends, the partner sends their invoice, and we just pay it out that way. We don't get to keep any of it for Cannon County or any discretionary funds for us. Sort of like what Ms. Stephanie was saying, those what you call them, set aside funds that she, indirect cost, yeah. So we don't get any of that kind of funding from any of these. School Kit is our partner with that, and School Kit is the organization that is supporting all the professional development across the entire state. So when we're going to our regional meetings for the new math materials, the new math adoption, they're the ones doing the writing of the professional development and delivering it. That, once again, Ms. Stephanie and the coaches and I sat down and worked, and we interviewed different vendors, thinking, okay, what's the best? This vendor, School Kit, really said how much they would do for teachers in the classroom providing professional development, and they've been working on that. This is our first year with them. It's a 2-year grant. And as we roll out our new materials next year, they will be there with us to support teachers in that. So that's a K-5 initiative or partnership also. So we have with the CORE office, again, their math specialist, Julia Brickle. She does our 612. Stephanie had already sort of built a relationship with Julia. We had already built a relationship with Christy, also in ELA at the State Department, when she was our one of our coaches, instructional coaches. Once again, it looked a little bit different. We're redefining it. All the models look very much the same, providing professional development, going into classrooms, seeing how teachers are using their materials, what we might need to do as a district to help support teachers to push in on that classroom. They supply us with data. And when we have questions about our curriculum or anything, they're experts in the curriculum. They can answer our questions about that. So those are the active ones that we have going that impact. One that really doesn't impact us, but has come through our office too, is once again, when these teachers go to the second week of literacy training, they get a $1,000 stipend. The state sends that all through us, so I have to keep up with all of the teachers who have attended those trainings. I have to make sure that they've gotten their certificates, that they've uploaded it into Encompass, and then work with not only Shannon, but working with the financial office to make sure that the teachers get that $1,000 stipend that they get for attending additional reading trainings. And then just thinking about all of them, we have lots of different partners too. Those are the big ones, but we have the Governor's Early Literacy Foundation that works with us, that sends out the books to our students. That isn't just the state working with that. Lisa works tirelessly on that too, to upload the list of all of our students, to make sure that those students, usually they earmark first and second grade students to get a whole box of books in the summer, to keep them reading during the summer. We also have partnerships with ACT in the work that they do. We have a partnership with the University of Tennessee and their reading program, so that families can sign up and do a online reading program. And we have several students, usually about 38 in the school district, that participate in that. As you know, we have an arts center partnership with a grant with them that's supplying us with a teacher for our middle grades to do theater and drama there. We've had partnerships with MTSU, TTU to supply professional development. We don't have one right at this moment, other than they're helping us if we need to get a teacher certified licensure wise. And we have a partnership with iTeach, and we may go with Grand Canyon too as they come forward too. So we have lots of partnerships. Bonnie spoke to that, even Ms. Stephanie, when she talked about who was providing the all-core training. I think it's just the new normal for education. And like I said, I'll give you 3 articles. This is the one that sort of got all the conversation going in 2018, called The Opportunity Myth. Then there's one, like I said, that will tell you more about lift education and some of the highly effective school districts we are partnering with. And then there's a last one that tells you a little bit about how reading instruction and science researched reading instruction looks in Tennessee now. So I'll leave that with you.
You, since this came about, and then you gave us that time frame of spring 2020, like, did you see improvement among our educators?
Well, I would like to say we saw great improvement, but then remember, we were out of school for all of that time. Then when we started school back up, and we shuffled a lot of teachers around. One year, we created a domino effect by one teacher moving in a system, and then that created all this movement. When we look at what happened this last school year, and teachers got repositioned again, and we think about how many teachers that we have who have taught the same grade for several years and have some longevity in there, we think that that's probably part of our root cause, that we're not seeing as much growth as other school districts are seeing, because we just had more change. Everybody went through COVID. Everybody had that going on their plate, but not everybody went through what we've gone through with repositioning positions. We happen to work next door to a school district that pays a whole lot more, and so constantly, and we're losing teachers. And Mr. Curtis, do we have 12 this year on permits?
Correct.
12.
And 2 more that were just added this past,
Recently.
that's in January.
So these, when I say permanent, those are teachers that did not go the traditional route. They have a bachelor's degree, but they did not go the traditional route of becoming a teacher through their undergraduate work. They have a bachelor's degree, and now we're working with a university, a partner, to get their credentials to be able to teach. So the one that's for 5 years is the LIN, the one that Trousdale County is. Some of them either just have, the school kid has one more year, the ones with the core office, that's a year to year, but we want to use those people, that's their expertise.
And the remind me, the 5-year one is the one that's K through 5? Yeah, it's K-5.
Yes, but because we've got this partnership, this works really well, and because even our core office people that are the 6-12, they attend the same meetings that we do, so we mirror as much possible K-12. So, and then even like our school kid, even though we wrote the grant, not really a grant, we just said our focus would be K-5. When they're rolling out professional development and all, they've been great to work with us. They're like, you know, we'll do K-12. So when we have our professional development day on January 30th, we'll have TNTP here, our partner there, and we'll have School Kit here on the ground, their consultants helping us roll out professional development for teachers. So once again, what did you say? You like money, free money, and free support and all? Not any of these, and we've paid for partnership and instructional partners before to come in and help many years ago when we had some title extra funding or race to the top funding or things like that. But we don't have that kind of funding now, so there's nothing that we're paying local funds for.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you very much for explaining
Thank you
it.
for letting me come for instruction. I feel like we do lots of things, but I don't get to tell. So, you know, the one thing about the partnership that we do with Trousdale County is that our district team gets to go visit either virtually or in person these counties, and they're in this network with us. So I get to see classrooms in Smith County, Van Buren County, Pickett County, Clay County, Trousdale County. We get to see what's happening in their classrooms too, and they all have the same curriculum that we do too. And they are all, we get to see great teachers. But you know what? We get to see great teachers in Cannon County too. Last year, between all the partnerships that we did last year, I got to visit classrooms in Cannon County and those other counties over 100 times. I was in classrooms. I've never been able to visit that many classrooms and then compare our classrooms to surrounding classrooms.
You have anything? Anybody?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, is there any way I could make a parliamentary move in a workshop? I don't know if that's possible. Then we move 20 on up and get our community members here on their way.
With that request, I think that would be great. I'm perfectly fine with that.
I don't know if Roberts would have that
No,
built
you
in.
don't have to, it's a
No,
workshop.
it's a workshop.
workshop.
It's a workshop. So thank you for bringing.
Last one to the first one.
Okay, so let's go ahead and let's move down to item number 20, and that's to approve the offering of the Cannon County Commission, to approve, to offer the Cannon County Commission, the Cannon County Senior Citizen Center property deed, and the former Woodbury Elementary School property deed located on Water Street in exchange for Cannon North Elementary School property deed. Okay, I'm gonna turn this over, I think, to Mr. Curtis and Mr. McMackins to begin this conversation.
Madam Chairman, I put in your packet, you got the deeds to all of those locations that were mentioned in your packet. And these were scanned, you know, that's what been in the possession of the County Board of Education since the 1950s. And so you'll see those, and I have those in electronic form, so you get to those very, very easily. County Executive and I, Mitchell, had been discussing this previously in the past since his election to the county executive's office, and just in passing. And Mr. McMackins has brought that forward to the board to just ask for this offer to be considered. And so you can see that on what those, where those deeds lie in comparison. You know, some of these go back to 1948, example for the Woodbury Grammar School. So some of these deeds are fairly old. I'm not calling myself old, but most of those are older than I am. And you can look at those and see what the review of the board would be in regard to these. So you look at, and I call it an anomaly. I'm not an attorney. My son is, I'm not, but I do know in looking at deeds and government documents, looking at this, you can see, and our General Sessions Judge, Matt is here tonight, so he might even comment on it, but I think what happened to West Side was really an anomaly that occurred. All of our other deeds are deeded to County Board of Education. West Side was not originally in the 50s. I don't know why. There may be some reason why, but most of those actors in that arena are no longer with us to determine why that was. I think it was an oversight, don't know, but all of our other properties going all the way back to the early 1900s were deeded to the County Board of Education. And why West Side wasn't, I don't know. Like I said, I think it was an oversight, but that's truly conjecture on my part. Judge Calvin might have a commentary on that. So I'll leave it at that and go from there. Mr. McMackins, you might want to ask what was the reason why you wanted to bring that forward to this meeting in January.
All right. The reality of us sitting here tonight in 2023, I think, is this. No matter what's happened in the past, no matter maybe the right thing should have been done and wasn't done, deeds weren't conveyed and whatever. At this point in time, we know for sure the reality is that we own the property on which County Senior Citizens sits on. And we have agreement with them. We also know that we do not own the former West Side Elementary School, now called North. So when both parties have figured this out, and our agreement is right now with senior citizens that we're to fix their building and maintain it, then we have the problem of a school system and a Board of Education taking care of a 501(c) that's not used for classrooms, does not have student activity in it, it's not maintained for that. So we have a school that is set aside for that, for educational purposes, and we have students in that building and have since it was built. And we've been taking care of that building. Another problem is that not only do I think we shouldn't be keeping up a nonprofit, because I think that nonprofit is tied to the county, and it's a county service for the citizens of this county, especially the senior citizens. So there's a marriage there between the county government and that building and that program, I believe, in my opinion. So the reality is, that we stand here tonight, we do not have any funding and never have put any funding in the budget to take care of that building, that I know of.
The lease was done in 1978. Board members, you have a copy of that. Mr. Cowan has a copy. Senior Center's got a copy there. In fact, I think everyone's originally provided me a copy. So we do have a copy of that. That agreement that was made in 1978. That was, I think, what, every 10 years or whatever, every year it had to be paid for years or whatever on that. So Mr. McMackins is correct in that no funding of County schools that I'm aware of since 1978 has been done on that building. Deborah, I don't know, y'all might Because the board, I don't think has ever budgeted anything
I don't think we've ever, I
for
don't think
that.
any
I
of
mean,
us-
I know since I've been here, BFC, but,
Yeah,
before Freddie Curtis.
yeah, having said that,
But I'm just saying, since 1978, we've had
yeah,
that agreement, right? That's probably before y'all's time too.
Until our current agreement.
Right, and then we have a current agreement that was done last year that was made to try to amend the 1978 antiquated agreement. What'd you say, Matt?
I believe we were under that 1978 agreement, which essentially became a month-to-month agreement beginning in 1988. So it was a month-to-month lease from 1988 effectively until December 9th, 2021, when this board and our board signed a 99-year lease. So that lease cleared up at least some ambiguities for all of us as to the legalities of our lease. I don't know as far as this board funding our building. I know our board spent $16,000 on the building last year as far as painting, HVAC repairs, painting, trimming outside, various things. But the county has spent money on that building. County partially funded the roof last year after the payment of insurance proceeds, as well as the addition, the new part where events are hosted and that sort of thing. But I'm not aware, Mr. Curtis, as to this, otherwise what this board or the county has funded on that project.
Right. And I'm not either, because if you were to dig back through it, I don't think anything's been done by the Board of Education since '78. I really don't. So, we could, dive into that, but probably it would be fortuitous to do that, if we did. So, that's where we are.
can I add a little caveat? A
Absolutely.
little caveat I've got is that if we're standing here today in 2023, and we all know our role, we all know the paperwork, we know what's now presently active. We own the building, we said we're gonna take care of it. Then, if we don't own West Side, then the county needs to take care of it. That's just the reality of it.
We don't own Woodland and we put a roof on it for you.
Do what?
I said, we don't own Woodland and we put a roof on it for you. So, don't start slamming the county.
No, I ain't slamming the county. I'm just saying, I'm simply saying is that if we're gonna take care of a building that we own, then the county should take care of a building they own.
Well, and
Can we give our position?
Yes, I would love to.
Yeah,
I would love to.
Well, kind of let the lawyers
I don't wanna
do.
Let's let Judge County talk for just a second.
usurp the point of order here, but, so how this began for us, of course, we talked about the lease. Myself, I'm joined here by Foreman Knox, our board chair, and Ms. Deborah Leach, our director. We met with Mr. Curtis and Mr. McMackins November 4th of last year. All roads lead back to the fire marshal, right? So the fire marshal had approached us.
Amen.
And I don't want to disparage the fire marshal because I go to church with one of their agents, I think the world of him, but anyway, they said that we're gonna have to do about $19,000 in repair. We're gonna have to make the door ADA compliant, we're gonna have to, smoke detectors, I think,
it's the fire alarm.
the fire alarm system, so about $19,000. We also have been, trying to, keep this, HVAC unit, one of our 4 major units, on life support essentially. So we're probably looking at around $25,000 in repairs. So being what I thought was the good tenant we are, we didn't want to invoke default under our lease, so we approached Mr. Curtis with these issues. We've been talking periodically since then. Also met with Mr. Greg Mitchell with the possibility of what would happen. I think at that time, they said they had met with you all, that your position might be that you might not be able to fund that, and y'all might look at possibly moving ownership of our building to the county. So, we weren't able to meet in December to talk to our board about that, so we met last night in a special called session. Our board voted unanimously to, I guess, give you a vote of affirmation that we're willing to move towards something where we're switched ownership with the county. Now, none of that discussion in November or December involved West Side. We can't speak to that. We don't take a position on the West Side deal. I first heard about West Side last week, so I don't know anything about that. Again, we don't take a position, but our position is we are fine with moving to ownership with the county, if that's the decision of this board. although I will just state on the record, the same thing I told Mr. Curtis and Mr. Greg Mitchell, whomever owns us takes the lease as it is. My legal position is that the county takes ownership, they take an assignment of that lease. And I will defend that position, whether that's with this board or the county. Meaning, whoever owns this has to pay those costs. That's our position. Again, we paid $16,000 in repairs. We're not asking for from last year just to, in good faith, keep up the building to make it better than the way we found it. So I just want to go on the record and state that. I would also want to state if there is to be a transfer, especially if the gymnasium is severed from the deed, please do a survey of that property. The deeds are horribly done. These are the kind of deeds that in the past have made case law in the Court of Appeals and Tennessee Supreme Court from Cannon County. I've been in the Court of Appeals and Supreme Court with Cannon County property cases. We don't want to be, I don't want anybody to be in that position. Let's just do it right. Please do a survey. And let's make sure that these beautifully handwritten and cursive deeds that are about 100 years old are checked out, and that it's done properly, and it's done through a title office and legal counsel. So that's our position. Again, we don't take a position on the West Side issue. I presume that's something you and the county are going to have to work out. But our board did vote unanimously that we're okay with moving some kind of ownership with the county. Did I leave anything out on that? And we recognize our historic partnership with the school board. I think you all passed a resolution to that fact, which I included as Exhibit B to the lease. I drafted the lease. If anybody had any questions about that, Mr. Jennings, your attorney, looked over it, but I drafted it. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those. Again, we're going to keep on doing what we do as a senior center board and serving the citizens of all districts who, mind you, were students at one point in this county, and their children and grandchildren are students. So I think if we help each other, then we're all on the same team trying to do the best we can for our county. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you so much.
I don't want anybody to think that I'm against the senior citizen center. I hope nobody thinks that.
Wade is a member.
I'm a member. And an instructor.
He's a great volunteer for us, so no, we don't think that.
But I think it's something that needs to be clarified. I'll put it that way. What's that issue as well as is that they've been, senior citizens have been great partners, and
it's one of the great programs we have in our county. I'm saying that's just because I'm a part of it, but that there's so much offered there for our seniors. Seniors need to know about it. We'd like to have more.
And all of our money is fundraised, just like other programs. We get some grants, but most all of it is fundraised.
And I'm hoping them being under the county would help you guys even get maybe more opportunities for that.
And that was something we initially discussed with County Executive Mitchell, that it's possible he may already have grant availabilities for the fire marshal repairs. But again, that's something that you all would have to discuss with the county, and the board of commissioners would need to decide as well. But we thank Mr. McMackins for all he does for the senior center and art class and all. Thank you all.
And going back to outside of this scope of the senior center, but looking at the Water Street property, again, that was a gentleman's agreement from that same time frame of about 1986, when we occupied the first floor of this building as a gentleman's agreement. It was basically, you get to use this if the county can utilize the Water Street location for a variety of uses that the county has done since 1986. So in January of '86, the Board of Education moved downstairs and occupied, interviewed with Jody Davenport. I came to my office and I talked to Jody back in August of '86, or July of '86, excuse me. And so they were already here then, but then we turned right around and the location of the African American school on Water Street basically became factory that was leased out to factory entities, as well as then storage for the county, and now it is in, I guess I could call it decrepit condition is probably the best way I could describe it. The floors are just all falling apart, and it's not anywhere near. I had visions, before I was director, I had visions of seeing that maybe become a museum, or kind of like the Bradley Academy in Murfreesboro. It's too far gone, folks. It's just horrible. And the county's been utilizing basically to store equipment, call it storage issue. Storing equipment is what I think they're.
Didn't the board meet there one time?
Absolutely. Board back previous to 1986, from 1986 to the close of that school in 1966, my history comes out in me, folks, so bear with me. That, from 66 basically for 20 years, 1986, the Board of Education met there, each meeting. So, then in 86, started meeting in our, downstairs and back where is now Brian Cooper Computer Lab. The board met there for a number of years until, we started meeting in other locations. Principally after the construction of Woodbury Grammar, utilizing the stage there at Woodbury Grammar for meetings. Have been meeting there since all of my administration. And even previously, all the way back probably to until when the board used to go from school to school to meet, previous to that. There's a little history lesson for tonight. It's A's, for participation. And, but that's where we're at, in this process. Whether it's a fair trade or not, certainly not me. And, that's up to get the lawyers. But Matt, can I ask, I was gonna ask. Okay, go ahead.
So we're open to no trade, essentially. Originally, as we discussed this, was you all don't have the money to do the repairs, so you would be essentially gifting us to the county, which is permissible under Tennessee law. My understanding is you can't just gift it to us as a 501c3, and I believe I agree with Mr. Curtis on that. So, again, not taking position on the west side thing, if it is that you all decide just to gift us to the county, and then we deal with the county, that's fine, as long as the county understands they take it subject to our lease, and they've got 98 years left on our lease, so. But I just wanna make that clear that our vote of affirmation is not contingent on what you do with Water Street, West Side, or whatever, we're fine, it's just, if this clears this off the deck for you all, and we deal with the county, then we're fine with that as well. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
The portion that we have to consider, you guys, is just that, we understand that. So that's the dealing that was talked about first. I think that this has come about, has that been discussed at the commission meeting yet? No, even the senior center, even the first portion. So that is going to have to be put onto agenda, sent from us to you guys.
And I'm on the county's agenda in February already. We're hoping we'd have some resolution in January, so Chairman Mitchell had me on the agenda for that. So if you need to piggyback off that, I think that's fine. Just let me and Mr. Mitchell know.
And so that probably needs to be handled in and of itself. And then possibly then entertaining the discussion if there's issues about West Side and the Water Street property different. So maybe not making this a trade, but talking about each individual. I don't, like this just needs to be taken care of, with the senior center. And then we need to probably figure out what to do with West Side. If that needs to be corrected, is what I'm seeing it. So it's almost three different pieces of business.
Yeah, once that's solved, then it's just a matter of us seeing the county would like to have Hill Elementary and swap for West Side.
But like, we're not saying swap, we're saying.
Well, transferring property, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Legal term.
But I'm saying us gifting the senior center to the county would not be contingent upon if the county is willing to gift West Side to us.
Yeah. Before we put that.
Right.
Matt, and you don't have to answer this if you don't to judge, but have you seen anything in case law in regard to anything like this where a county-owned a school property instead of the Board of Education. Have you seen anything like that in case law at all?
The senior center?
Well, no, I'm talking about just
West side.
like West Side on that. I know you're not an attorney, but,
No, I've not researched that.
you know, I've seen in case law with that, where it was gifted to the county instead of gifted to the Board of Ed, then in, you know,
No, that's a good
40,
point.
50 years ago, then, or excuse me, 60 years, right here, over 60 years ago, then you turned around and figure out, oh, this was deeded to the county instead of being deeded to the Board of Education, and the Board of Education would occupy that property for the last 60 plus years. I don't remember anything like that in my school law stuff.
No, but I will say property anomalies are just prevalent in Cannon County, and you talked about handshake deals that were well intended in the past. I know when I was City of Woodbury's attorney, Mr. Fagan and I had to hash out a lot of issues between the city and county, and just, again, things that were probably well intended but don't work in the 21st century, you know.
And that's just like me going back and looking at Cannon County, or the west side, deeded to Cannon County. I really think that was an oversight. Instead, it was not deeded to the Cannon County Board of Education. Can't prove that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying every other piece of property in Cannon County that is a school property has been deeded to the Cannon County Board of Education, but that, and that's just kind of an anomaly in my opinion. But there you go.
Well, and I think, just putting on my attorney cap for a minute, I think what we're trying to avoid here are equitable claims in Chancery Court here, because the county could say they put a lot into the senior center building, we could say we put a lot in, but, you know, we're all trying to do this, you know, openly and civilly, and those claims are oftentimes weak in court too, but they are claims, so nonetheless, so I think we wanna just hash out the ambiguities and get a plan moving forward. That would be my position.
I know the TSBA told me, their lawyers told me that only a school board has the right to either sell a school or buy and build a school. In this case, if we want to sell that building tomorrow, we cannot do it, we're not going. So that seems to be the ambiguity right there, because we don't have the right to do something by law that we really have the right to do, because we don't own the property.
Yeah, it's definitely an issue, but not one that I've researched.
Well, that's what I'm saying, case law is case law, case law. But yet, is there another word? I know Memphis, Shelby County, but I don't want to go there, because it was a whole other deal there. Yeah, Shelby County Education Board of Education versus the city of Memphis Board of Education, so
Yeah.
we're not nowhere near that. You know, I'm just saying.
All right. I think we need to move forward. If everyone else is in agreement, thank you very much for coming here and clearing some things up for some of us. We appreciate it. We're gonna move forward and try to get through the rest of this pretty quickly. We're looking at item number 14. It's the policy review, policy 2.100 to 2.900, and that deals with physical, I never can say that right, guys, management. Yeah, there you go. All right, item number 14, Mr. Curtis.
Madam Chairman, most all of these have been redone the majority of them in 2019. I would look at 2.806 as a possible one to look at in the February meeting. And 2.806, if you'll notice, it says, Mr. Curtis, that was done last July. It was. And there is some discrepancy between attorneys. Imagine that, Mr. Calvin is left. Imagine that there is discrepancy among attorneys because we're an 81 Act county. Is the 81 Act a purchasing agent? If it is a purchasing agent, then our bid is $50,000 according to legislation passed last year. Right now, we've been under the assumption, and what we're telling me, CTAS's individuals say, no, you don't have a dedicated purchasing agent. Whereas competent school board attorneys have said, you're under the 81 Act, and under the 81 Act, you do have a purchasing agent, and that is the finance department. So this is a wording issue, certainly a wording issue, but it's also a practical issue because, you know, is our bid rate $50,000? Or is it $25,000? There are people in this room that would love it if it was at $50,000. Okay, particularly maintenance and principals. You know, you're dealing with, okay, is the rate 25,000 or is it 50? Well, according to what we passed in 2022, it's 50 because of the law that was passed during the last session of the General Assembly. Now, my deal is, I've not raised it to 50 yet because of the back and forth. And so I like to say our attorney, you know, meaning Mr. Jennings and competent school attorney, Mr. Chuck Cagle, is saying 81 Act is that way. And then I've been told that there has been a ruling by the Attorney General saying the 81 Act is not a quote financing person that does, you have one person that does all the purchasing. Okay, my contention is, yes, we do. And that is Mr. Douglas Jennings does all purchasing. Diane does sign off on it, but he does all purchasing under GP. Now, Andrea does all the purchasing under food service and under federal. Okay, so my argument is, yes, we do have a purchasing agent. So now, get the lawyers involved. I just think on we just put you on notice that I believe that 2.806 needs to be addressed at the February meeting. That we look at that and get definitive legal opinion in regard to that. Again, CTAS is saying one thing, Tennessee School Board Association, and TOS is saying another thing. So it's interesting to see the two entities go at each other, but you know, that's something I will probably enjoy after July 1. But I'll let you tell you this, it needs to be resolved because we got people that would love it being the bid limit being at 50,000 instead of 25,000. And so, but right now you read 2.806, what does it say? It says 50,000 because you adopted what the state of Tennessee, the legislative body, the Tennessee General Assembly adopted during the last session of General Assembly, signed by the governor, become law. So, be interesting if that were to follow constitutional law. But I don't want to be a test case to that. I just want to follow either it's 25 or it's 50. So that's 2.806, and I'd like to see that put on the agenda for the February meeting.
Thank you very much. Okay. Item number 15 is discussion regarding the policies 5.801 and 5.802 concerning the director of schools recruitment and selection and the qualifications and duties of the directors of schools. We had a special called workshop last week, hashed out a lot of things. Any more from the 5 board members about anything about that process regarding those policies or the qualifications and duties in that policy? Anything at all? Okay. I think we did too. All right, we're going on to number 16, which is, and I'm going to pull this up real fast so I can talk pretty quickly through this. We met last week, like I said, and we hashed out and kind of had a working workshop. That's kind of redundant there. About the timeline procedure and the notice of vacancy and the application for the selection of a new director of Canyon County Schools. Just to kind of brief everybody on that, the timeline for the new director hire. On January 10th, we started the discussion. Mr. Jennings was here and helped us know some specifics. Thursday night at the board meeting, we're hoping to vote on this timeline, the qualifications and job duties, placing the ad, all of that we decided, or not decided, but we kind of proposed that night. And we're hoping that all resumes are going to be received no later than Thursday, February 9th. They're going to be submitted to Ms. Teresa electronically on the 20th of January. The posting of the new position after we go through that voting on Thursday night. On the 20th, the posting of the new position on the school website, given 15 business days that are required for in-house employees. It'll be posted for that position. The new director will be announced at the April board meeting. on the 9th, February the 9th. That's the deadline for all resumes to be in by 3 o'clock. On February the 16th, we will have a special called workshop. We'll review all the resumes. All credentialing and reference checks are to be completed by Ms. Teresa Lewis for us. March the 7th and 9th will be our workshop board meeting, and that is when we will schedule open interviews with the selections from the resumes that have been reviewed. At the April 13th board meeting, we will be voting on a new director and hoping that that will be chosen that night. April and May, we will be meeting with Mr. Jennings and our new director that we have chosen to go over and approve a contract and have contract negotiations. And the new director will start transitioning on June the 1st, by June the 1st. And so that's kind of the timeline that we went out, board members, qualifications, and the description of this position. All of the things that will be sent out has been sent to your email in that board packet. So be sure you look over that to see if there's any changes that you think need to be made by that or on that before that goes out on the 20th, if we approve that on Thursday night.
Madam Chairman, if I can, just for a
Yes,
second. What I've done, and you tell me if I need to do it differently. 16A will be to approve the timeline for the new director hire as presented. 16B will be to approve the notice of vacancy. Which one do you want to do? Do you want to do the long one? Do you want to do the short one? You've got basically two there, or a combination thereof. On the notice of vacancy, that will go on our website. And then finally, 16C, to approve the application. Which application would you like to use in that process? So is our application what I sent to you? Is it okay? Do we need to revise that? Would be 16C, to approve the application thereof. If that's okay. If not, you do all of them in one big swoop, or that's up to y'all. So just let me know how you
I
want.
think that gives us a step by step. If we broke it down, I think that's what.
Just a recommendation from the retiring director that that would be, it makes it clear, in my opinion. That's my opinion.
Any other questions? I just want to say thank y'all for that meeting the other night. I thought it was concise. And we got some things ironed out. I appreciate it. Item number 17, grant authority for directors of school, our director of school to approve and sign settlement agreement with Jewel and other defendants and accept related settlement funds. That will just be a motion to give him the authority to sign for that.
Madam Chairman, if I can, I'll give you this confidential, do not distribute. In regard to the Jewel suit, you'll know more about that during your meeting with council at 5:45 on Thursday.
We'll be sure to look over that. 5:45. Don't forget that.
And that'll be in the band room, the music room, right there located by the cafeteria, is where the location of that will be.
Number 18 on the agenda is to approve a resolution, BOE 2223, number 6. Mr. Curtis.
We received the Innovative Schools Model Grant. $1.5 million, $1 million for County High School, and $500,000 for County Middle School. So, Ms. Crystal, you want to say anything on that? This is just, we got the money, now I got to spend it.
Yeah, I have a plan. We're in phase 1 currently.
That's been approved, so that is great news, folks.
Thank you, Ms. Crystal. Thank you. All right. 19 and 20 have been taken care of. Now, thank you, Coach Nate, for waiting so patiently.
That's okay.
All right. Buchanan County Youth Basketball and its league administrators. We're looking at a revision of the current contracts with our new executive director, Coach Jared Nave. Coach Nave?
I sent you all an email. I don't know if you got it yet.
I did forward that. It's in your inbox, folks.
I speak on this matter?
Yes, sir. You may.
I was reading over the contract the previous contracts, and I started thinking, so I contacted Will Parker, the other organization in our school system that's similar to youth basketball is youth football. Youth football is structured under the school system now, and their coaches are drug tested and background checked. And they raise money for themselves to run their program, but they also help out the middle school program, and that all falls under Coach Daniels, who's the main driving force of it, and then the middle school football coach and Will Parker are the ones who sort of drives this organization, and then they reach out and send a representative to the touchdown club, the booster club. So if they have a problem in their organization, or somebody has a question, or they have a concern, or an ideal, it would come to Will, and it would go up the chain of command, and end up they can speak to the touchdown club. To say all that, we don't have a contract with them, and I don't see any purpose of having a contract with an employee. Coach Nave works for the County School Board, so there's no reason to have a contract with him. His program's already under the school system. His money goes into the central office, into the office with Miss Taylor. This contract, to me, when I read over it, sounded like a really good template for a letter to go to the parents. Because you're explaining your purpose and location and usage and about the season, the coaches. It's really good it's a good little letter for a coach to have, employees, kids that are gonna help you, parents. Sound like a good letter to send to the parents. So I'm gonna make a motion tomorrow night or Thursday night that we don't have to have we can just disavow the present contract, and don't get me wrong, I don't want the word to get out that I'm against having the organization. I know that's gonna get there, it's gonna hit the internet. Ways against youthful basketball.
What are you?
I hadn't seen anybody's phones raised, so I thought they was probably already hit it. No, not trying to accuse anybody. Anyway, just to make that clear, no, all I'm saying is, I think the organization needs to be looked at internally from yourself, from the athletic director, acting or not, and Mr. Courtney, and y'all look at it and y'all see if you need to tweak your program, or is anything in your program to fix it better. There's always improvement. We got elementary school now that had, and a middle school's got a brand new gym. Maybe we can have all our games in town. It'll help everybody, where parents not driving from south going all the way to north in 15 minutes. So that's my proposal. Just little things that I want to touch on tonight, just as suggestions. I got no power for you guys to do anything you want to, but I want to make a suggestion. I've noticed during the ball games this last year, not enough tickets were given out, if any. Football gives a ticket out. They bring that back to Joyce. There's a way to have a credibility thing, because if we get audited on this sometime,
I agree.
you're gonna hang yourself.
I agree.
Yes, you gotta give out a ticket. Do you plan on having a salary? Are you gonna
Myself,
pay yourself?
probably a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Not as much as amount of work I'll do, but yeah, I'll give myself a little, yeah.
Primarily, and I don't, go ahead, I'm going.
No, go ahead.
I was just
You don't
gonna
have to-
say, I was gonna say primarily what they have used this, the gym maintenance, the account for, is to resurface that floor.
Yeah.
And it's coming a time, I'm gonna tell you, we did this back about 5 years ago, where we completely took it down, did a whole new paint job. I don't know if anybody was on the board at that time, that was about $25,000, roughly around $25,000. So that money that's in that account, in that gym maintenance account, they put back a little bit at a time to help kind of cover. We couldn't cover it all last time, but it's getting to where we can start, and if you look at 5 years ago to where we're at in that gym now, I mean, I would put our gym up against anybody else's in the state. I mean, we are making huge strides in that, and that's what that youth program is doing. And so, I mean, there's some really great things that are going on. Absolutely, we can get 100% better. You know, you can always get better.
Any program.
Any program.
Any program.
But those monies are used to, you know, you got people coming from all over to come into that gym. I mean, it's so funny, back when we got the bathrooms redone, I bet I had 25 or 30 people come up to me and go, "You seen those bathrooms? Those bathrooms look amazing." And I'm like, it's so funny we're talking about a bathroom. But yeah, I mean, you're looking at the improvements that they've made. So absolutely, I love to see this program continue. I agree that if he is going to put that amount of time in that, he needs to be compensated for that. I totally agree. And so that could be an agreement that's done internally.
Well,
Whether it's gonna be me acting as athletic director right now or as the principal, whichever, but I agree, he needs to be compensated for that program, for being in charge of that.
And
It's a
too,
lot of work.
on that aspect, you're talking about the gymnasium. Now that the middle school school gym is going to be available, we need to kind of think about that down the road, about resurfacing or redoing that floor in the future. Right now, we're good because it's brand new. It's a brand new floor, right, Melanie? I mean, they give us a warranty on that, and we're.
I will say, I'll just say, we're doing resurfacing ours each year, and it's about $5,000 a year.
So we need to
So
probably get
I mean, those are things need to be looking at down the road, because it's.
And we need to think about the wear and tear on that floor. It's different than the high school floor. Cause you've got elementary kids with the wrong shoes. There's already a lot, the opening night of it for a ball game, there was already a lot of scuffs, but that's a wear and tear on it.
That's what we're having
on
to
the little
face,
floor, yeah.
because we have PE in there every
Yep.
day. So, the same thing. So those are things that's gonna have to be addressed.
And also.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, up until this year, we've never had to utilize a whole other school every single Saturday.
Yeah.
Ever. Maybe here and there for scheduling conflicts or something, but to use 2 gyms every Saturday, since I've been up there, we've not had to do it.
But you've also stayed about 7 or 8 o'clock at night.
Right, so I mean, but we could have kids that not have enough to even, just to do 10 games next year. I mean, it all,
Yeah.
like it says, depends on the students that kids, which we hope we have to use 2. But,
And if we have to use it a bunch, I mean, I'm paying a percentage or whatever that comes to be of it's 5,000 to redo the floor. We use it 10 times, you know, we can percentage of whatever.
I'll take it.
So I think that's fair. I mean, that's fair.
Yeah. This contract sent to us is the old contract?
well,
Present
and the
contract.
board,
And then he just sent a new one back a few moments about, right before the board meeting, I sent
There's
that.
a new email.
A new email to Jeremy, I forwarded it to you.
That's
And you
what it
see
was
the
up
new-
till that email.
The new wording, you see the new wording on that one.
And you see the administrators with Jared being the executive director, Nick Paul Jones, Jacob Nave, and Brennan Swartz.
Okay, I was on the wrong email, thank you.
Because what I was gonna compare to, there's no board down on the elementary football. I don't see any reason why I have an outside board for a school, in-school program. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, but I think it was going back to
The old days.
the old days of how it was done back when we did this contract back.
You
10
played
years
in,
ago.
you played in, the veteran gym.
I played in the veterans gym years ago.
Saw you play.
Many times.
You stood out. I don't know if that was a good thing or not.
It was just because I had a lot of hair. Yeah, shocking.
So the money, plus the only thing I haven't heard, this is a program to benefit the gym, which benefits both programs. So I haven't heard the girls' basketball coach mentioned as being a part of this process.
So, either way, you can.
I've asked, I've reached out and said, hey, if you wanna like help and participate, we'll get you a share, but she did not want to.
Well, she's benefiting from it. Why don't she not gonna help with it? I don't understand that part.
Well, So in the contract, I put about 10% is gonna go to boys basketball. So she wouldn't get a 10% cut.
It's gonna help as a whole.
Yeah, yeah.
But not as a direct relation of her getting, I'm just using a number, $2,500 extra to go solely into her program to buy uniforms or to do whatever. Like, it may be helping her, yeah, she's getting the floor resurfaced.
What it has in their locker rooms.
It has. But, I mean, I'll be honest with you, but she wouldn't get the extra advantage, I guess, of having a little bit extra to get, to pay for a Christmas present or whatever.
Just for interest, what does that program generate on average?
What,
I would
have to look, it's probably 8 to 10 grand, I would think.
That's it?
I mean, that's just a guesstimate right there on what it generates. I'm not, and I'll get you a
I'm
number.
shocked at that number.
I'll get you a number.
For you
I'll have
guys,
you a number.
Total, it's probably, she's telling me, I just got in this week and a half ago, so it's probably 18 to 20, I guess.
So that's not this year.
Correct.
And
So
they
there's
pay
money.
people to work those days too.
Right,
I'm
so
only
it's-
saying that
it's not
from like, my daughters have worked that, so I mean, there's a lot more overhead with that than there is like, for instance, with us, when we have
Yeah.
teachers who volunteer to work through the work.
I think you should put out a pay
volunteer.
schedule too. I think it'd be
Okay.
very advantageous for you to print that, because that way, there's not favoritism, you're not giving one student $500 and another one $50.
Well, then maybe you could look at, getting volunteers to work the concessions and things like that, like through Tennessee Promise or.
You could.
Most of them, some of
Hey,
them, most of
them
them
kids do a great job, we will gladly pay that.
Those kids, yeah.
Trust me, from a parent that is up there all day long, they do a great job, and it's extra money in their pocket. Especially the high school kids that don't get, most of them are ball players, so they don't have a job. So I hate to take that away from them, but when you see parents going from gym to gym and out there 4 games a day, you're not gonna get parents. And I'm up there every Thursday, all day long almost, so I'm speaking from a parent.
I do agree with you though, that I feel like this is an internal thing that we can,
Yeah.
I think y'all can handle it.
I think we can handle
They're
it.
handling it down there very well, and I think you guys can handle it. Don't think you need a board of directors, or you're already under the school system. I don't know what I was thinking when passed the last time.
Well, and we can, like we said, we'll come up with a scale that will be an agreement that I will sign and he'll sign.
It just keeps everything aboard. And
Absolutely.
one student don't say, oh, I know she's getting more than I am, I just can tell. No, well, you don't know that, because it's right here, no, you're getting the same.
We appreciate y'all very much. Thank you very much. All right. Number 22 is strategic plan discussion. Is there any discussion tonight or questions, comments about the strategic plan? Okay.
Madam Chairman, I will say that we're working on the district plan right now. Our supervisors are working diligently on the district plan, and so we will probably bring back some recommendations to the board. The district plan is due on March 1, and we'll bring back some things to the board to revise this one in regard to district plan. It's up to you, the future, where you want to go with the strategic plan. So we will give you some of these major details that you see on this. You will see a revised one dealing with the district improvement plan when we submit that to the state. So then you will see more of that down the pipe with the board one, whatever the board desires to do after that. You're gonna be right in the middle of budget too, so it's, I'm not suggesting a new strategic plan meeting every month or something, but that's probably coming down the road.
Item number 23 is the Canyon County Board of Education Advisory Committee authorization. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yes, ma'am.
First, I also wanted to thank all the teacher or principals, supervisors, Mr. Curtis on working hard on that plan. But I do want to have it on record that it is a plan that only part of this board is for. And it's still been moving forward. And that's one reason why Jessica and I are now part of this board, because we still have a substantial amount of people in this county who is against this. So there does need to be more review, more talk on this. Because again, it's not everything that the county wants, people in the county, part of this board.
What we're going to revise, Madam Chairman, is basically you're looking at the last section, or section 3 there, creating a culture of excellence through high expectations, all areas. That's what our committee, what our team is looking at, is number 3, creating a culture of excellence through high expectations. And then number 4, engaging families and the community as partners. Ms. Mullins' team does that with the Title I program. And that's what these two is goals 3 and 4. And I believe what Member Mel is talking about is in the mission and vision. I don't think there's any debate about mission and vision. Where we dealt with that earlier, it would probably be in goal 1 and 2. Am I hearing that correct? In goal 1 and 2?
Correct. The ongoing discussion of closing schools, building a new school. I mean, we still need to get with commissioners, we need to get
Objective 2.
Taxpayers. I mean, commissioners have to put it on ballot, get it approved, put it on ballot. We gotta get with taxpayers to say if they even are interested. I mean, they're the ones that will have to pay for stuff. There's lots of stuff that need to be brought up, should have been brought up before certain plans were in place.
And then goal 2, provide a safe and supportive learning environment in a unified community. That's basically using it to safety, what Ms. Bonnie has done. So I'd say you're looking at basically goal 1, objective 2. Objective one is instructional, and then objective 2 is facilities resources.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Brandon, since you're here tonight, I do not have to put nothing on the ballot if I want to build it. You just have, I have to send it to you to approve me to take out, if I can approve you.
What are we saying, what are we wanting on the ballot? Are we talking about like a special?
I'm not sure, I'm just saying, but for me to spend money to take out a loan, I don't have to put it on the ballot, correct?
No, I'm not, oh, you're talking about a special election ballot?
Just any ballot to build a school, because the taxpayers want to pay for it, because we don't have the money
Right.
to build a school. So who's gonna pay for it? Taxpayers. So
Right.
how are we gonna?
But as far as the
Get that
ballot,
approval.
the commission sets the tax levy for the school board. And that's what y'all operate under. That, what y'all do with that money is up to y'all. Not, I mean, like, as far as, I don't know if we're wanting to talk about it in special election or what we're wanting to do here. But now, as far as what Derek is asking, yes, if they wanted, if y'all chose to get a loan for 30 million or 25 million, you would have to come to the commission to get that approved. But as far as going like on a ballot for a special call election or something like that, that's not required.
Well, the will tax and all that.
The will tax would have to go back if the commission decided they wanted to remove the will tax. So the $40 will tax, I'm assuming is the one you're talking about. That was put on a ballot, voted in by, take that off. It has to be put back on the ballot. And the people of this county would have to vote on that to extend it further.
I know there was
So
questions
it was
on
put,
wording
it was
of
put
it.
on by the people and it would have to be taken off. Am I right, Ms. Curtis?
That is correct. Legal interpretation on that, depending on, again, lawyers. But, yes, the people are the ones who decided that, and they're the ones that would say,
Right.
remove that.
Right.
Now, the debate around the wheel tax gets into, the original debt is going to expire in 2026.
Exactly.
And in 2026, then, it's going to be paid off. So if it's going to be paid off, then if the wheel tax continues, it's not going toward the original debt.
Right.
So what does it go toward if it were to continue? But that's beyond the scope of my office. To say that, but I'm just saying that, you're asking me interpretation, that's my interpretation as the director of schools.
And in order for that to continue, the people would have to vote on that wheel tax for it to continue. I'm almost certain the commission would not have the authority to be able
Just say,
to.
just keeps on going.
Right.
And you get another 30 million or 35 million
Right.
to the cost.
Right.
And it just continues until that is paid off.
If I understand the question.
And that's where, looking at objective 2, where is that, how is this going to be? When is this going to occur? By August of 26, which is in the objective 2, that will attend either Cannon County Elementary, Cannon County Middle, or Cannon County High School. You have 3 schools by August of 2026. But with that expiring in 2026, my anticipation of that would be moved again to whenever the board wants to do that as part. This plan goes through 2027. And this is the 5-year strategic plan, just like you guys have.
And that's speaking on the $40 wheel tax, the $10, I don't know.
Never.
No, I never do.
It does not have any data sunset.
That portion never expires, and that was the high school that was built in 1977, 78 time frame, and voted on by the people during that time. And then it just moved forward, and then when they wanted to build, when the county wanted to build again, Woodbury Grammar, and the additions on all the other schools, that's when that was passed in 2000.
And real quick, again, typically what we've done in the past, and thankfully, it's very expensive to call a special election, very, very expensive. So what we've done is just piggyback off of state and federal elections, and then, any money that we spend as a county, and county taxpayers, you're reimbursed by the state and federal government, because, you got pollers and machines and all that kind of stuff, but as far as like, if this board wanted to have a special, call election, and the commission approved it, I mean, you're talking $40,000-$50,000.
Yep.
It's very expensive.
And what we've done previously, before y'all were on the board, is we piggybacked off of a general election.
The general election.
And we piggybacked off on an August
State
election,
level.
when that was done back in 2020.
Right.
So there's a history that I can tell you there. It was when the original was done in 76, 77, they piggybacked off a gubernatorial election. And in 2000, they did the same. They piggybacked off
I'm not saying it can't be done, I'm just telling you that it's not just a few pennies.
No.
My point was, the majority of the county still does not want it to go down to 3 schools. They didn't want this plan as it is, but we are still continuing it, even though part of the board was elected in. That's the reason why we were elected in, because people are against it.
Now, I've said this to you in writing before you were on the board, before we were on the board together, okay? And, I'm gonna say it publicly now. You use the term majority, and I do not believe you know that. I told you, in an email that I think was published over Facebook, that the majority of people that have come to me, and I had people come to me that were against this, but an overwhelming majority were completely for it. In fact, the majority of people that I spoke to, including educators, supervisors, and parents, this is overdue, about 20 to 30 years overdue. I'm not saying that there is not a portion of this county that does not agree with this. Okay, I'm not. And I listen to those people. I think that you can attest to that. And I communicated with people. But Ms. Trammell, the that I've heard from does not lie against this. Now, I wanna work with you, we're on this board together, okay? I wanna work with you. I want to know what we need to do going forward, because we need a good plan for these children. I've looked at the 3-school system, I've talked to supervisors here, I have talked to educators on the collegiate level, I've done my research. And I think a 3-school system shows, by far, that's the only proven system that shows an increase in excellence. And I think that we need to go forward with that. But I do not want us to move forward thinking that the majority is against it. I agree that there's a group of people, a portion that's against it. I totally agree with you. I understand that. I listen to those people. I love dearly some of those people. And I respect their opinions. But we've got to find some commonality, and we've got to work for a common good and common goal for kids. And I'm willing to do that. So my question to you is, what do you see we could do moving forward so we can get to an agreement and we can move forward with working for these kids?
Again, we need to get the public involved more. They seem to have been ignored in the past. And that was part of my platform. And again, substantial amount of people are against this plan, not majority, a substantial amount. And yes, I understand some people are for it. But we are representatives of our district, and that's how we are supposed to go forward, is what our district wants. And people have tried to come in and help and present stuff, and they got ignored. We need to actually listen, sit down. We're not business people, but there's business people that have been trying to help us or help y'all in the past. We need to actually sit down before we go through with this and really get with people in the county and say, what would you like? We can also go from there. And the teachers, we need not just a certain amount of people playing what they want and wishes. Yes, we want the best. I don't agree with that. I agree with that completely, that we want everybody in this county wants the best for every student. But there's a reality. Money. And we are a small county, we have a small amount. So we need to look at exactly the best places it needs to go. And the best is in the classroom. That needs to focus.
I'm just concerned that realistically, that we're never gonna have the money to build a middle school. I mean, that is my concern. Realistically, that we're never gonna have the money to build a middle school. And I do not want to see the elementary school and the middle school in one building lumped together forever. I mean, I know this is a transition period, it had to be done, whatever. I personally don't want to see that, because I mean, I feel like that, they're having to, share a gym, they're having to share a playground. I mean, and I don't think realistically, from a financial standpoint, that we're ever gonna have the money to build a middle school. I mean, do you think realistically that we're gonna have money to build a middle school?
I think we've got to try to find something. I like to look at things we have in common and things we can agree upon. The best, okay? Something else you just said, Jessica, I could give you a high five. I don't want the elementary school and the middle school in the same building. I totally agree with you on that, okay? We gotta do something.
And I
And
will,
you said this, realistically, are we ever gonna do that? I'm gonna tell you, realistically, we couldn't keep running 7 schools. There was no way. I think, Miss Karen, I hope you're okay. Miss Karen's nodding her head yes. She's in agreement with me. We couldn't have done it.
Finance told us we couldn't do it.
Local law in the state.
Except for, can I make a statement? Wade, you are on record saying the commissioners gave us more money than we needed each year to take care of that.
I don't say needed, they gave us more money than they're required. There's a difference. They give us more money and they fought us over that, you know that. We got a commissioner sitting.
Have to put, I don't, it's.
Don't get into a.
No, but I say $500,000.
I don't know the exact number, Freddie, but if you go by the MOE and the value of the penny, the county is putting in more than what's required by the state to make the maintenance of it.
The minimum, right,
The minimum, yes.
bar minimum, according to.
I'm thinking it's over 300,000.
Yeah, I'm thinking 35, something
I'm not sure of the exact.
Heard that number.
Ms. Lisa, if I could speak, I was nodding my head, and my take on it is not so much financial. It was the fact that I was running a school, and I did the math on it, and I have a chart if you want to see it. But my students were getting less than a tenth the time of their teacher's day than some of the kids were in the smaller schools because of the class sizes and the inequality or the imbalance of the numbers. And my classes were so huge, and Mr. Curtis knows I always call myself the middle child because most of Angela's classes were big enough to split into 2. The smaller schools were small enough to stay 1, and Miss Melton, Dr. Melton was talking earlier about the movement of teachers. I had 3 years where I had less than 5 teachers who taught the same thing they taught the year before, only because of numbers. Because I would have 2 second grades, and the next year I'd have 2 third grades, and then I would have 2 first grades. And so some years I would have 2 of this and 1 of that, and 2 of this and 1 of that, and then the next year I might have 2 second grades and 2 third grades, so I'd hire some new person in that might leave the next year. So my teacher movement was very difficult to maintain, to be honest, where there was 1 grade of everything at the small schools, 2 grades of everything at the big schools, and I was the middle kid. I called myself that all the time. Mr. Curtis will tell you, I called myself the middle kid. I wasn't big enough for 2 of everything. I wasn't small enough for 1 of everything, and we were moving everywhere. And some years we had the maximum number in at least 4 classes, and we could never go over enough to have 2 of everything. So it was
but then
difficult.
again, that wasn't our fault. It's not my fault that, Short Mountain community has X number of people that live there and kids that go to school at Short Mountain, and West Side had X number of people that lived in West Side.
I'm just saying, it was very imbalanced. It was very imbalanced, what we were offering to our students.
That's not our problem. That's not our problem as a parent, somewhere. But it's our problem for the equality of students in this county as a 5-member board. We have to take care of that.
Y'all both are saying that realistically, y'all don't think we'll have the money, and I understand that. And I understand why y'all are upset, and why you got on the board, cause I personally have friends that don't agree with this. I understand, I've got both sides. But what's been done has been done. We still have 5 school buildings left. 6 until next week if it don't. We need to move forward and look at what we got. Maybe we can't build the building. Maybe we decide something totally else. Maybe we gotta work together and figure out something for our kids. I agree 100% with you. They don't need to go for more than, another year like that. I 100% agree with you. But what do we gotta do to get them out? When we decided this, let me finish, I promise. When we decided this, interest rate was a lot lower, construction was a lot lower. There was nothing even remotely close to what we were seeing. Promise you. Everything has doubled, if not tripled from when we done this. Not making excuses, I'm just being honest, we went from $30 million to almost $130 million, almost $100 million, if you look at stuff realistic. Me here, we've got to work together. What's done is done. I'm sure there's stuff that previous commissioners have done that Brent didn't like, and he got on there. So he can't change it overnight. We've got to work together for the kids of this county.
I'm very much willing to work together. And I mean, there's, still a lot that I'm learning and things like that, but I'm just, going forward, my concern, like I say, is I just don't want that middle school and elementary school being lumped together. And, we have on our plan to build a Kenny County Middle or an elementary school. I just honestly, I don't think that's realistic. So, I mean, we gotta kind of, I guess, come up with a plan B for lack of better terms. 'Cause
I agree with you.
I
That's where I'm getting.
I think we
B, C, D, E, F.
Yeah, it needs to be a plan A, like
And-
Rebecca said, we do need to plan.
and as,
We gotta do that, that's fine, that makes sense, right? It makes sense, right, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Makes sense to plan what we're gonna do in the future.
And as Wade said, I don't think that it's cost effective to make what is now Kenny County Elementary, Middle, whatever, just to make it the middle school, because it's essentially gonna be too big for a middle
Bigger
school.
than it has to be,
Um,
Then you gotta go to elementary, which is higher than the middle.
right,
I do wanna give some kudos for one thing though. I wanna give a shout out to the kids and the teachers that even though they don't have their own identity as a brick and mortar building, they have that identity in their hearts and minds. That middle school has thrived this year on their activities, getting along with each other, their teachers being close by, the curriculum. I mean, it has actually worked internally, but they're sitting in a building that they don't have called their own. Can't drive up and say that's Cannon County Middle School. That's what we want. A place that they can have of their own, to share, not have to share, have their own football field, their own gym. So that should be our goal. And to talk about the money, until we will have to do what we have to do with what we got to do it with. Man, can somebody write that down?
I
Oh,
don't know if I can follow that.
Well, I can't repeat that. So what I'm saying is you're given a plate of what we've got. Yes, I know, Rebecca, you have deep sentiments about what happened in the past, but it's got to be that. Plus, you've got to come to, we all have to come as a board to a time when we have to make a decision. I can't, listen, Rebecca, I cannot call everybody up in my district before I vote for something. How am I gonna do that? I gotta call everybody in my district and say, look, I'm fixed to do this, yay or nay. You can't do that. Matter of fact, we weren't elected to do that. We were elected to make representational decisions for the whole district. You cannot canvass the whole district every time you gotta make an important decision. That's democracy, where the 51 tell the other 49 what to do. We're not a democracy. We're a representative government, and we represent the people. We represent all the people. That's the decision I made when I became a board member. West Side, I was not going to represent just West Side. As Karen quite knows. I haven't been in her office very many times. So I represent all the kids of this. But we're just elected from a district to be for everybody. And I want to see us all do what's best for this county. But this county and the citizens of this county will not get anything other than when they decide they want it. When they decide they want to spend the money, they want to up something, we don't have much things to up. And the worst thing we got is property tax, so the wheel tax is the best tax we got. And being the worst as it is, it's still the best thing we've got for equity. Yet they want to take that out. And they vote, no, we don't even want a middle school. So I don't know what you do when you got a populace that goes out and says, we don't want to spend any more money on education. We're fine with what you're doing. Do what you can do with what you got. And that's exactly where we're stuck in 2023. And so you're right. We have got to figure out, put it out on the table. What do we got? What is every alternative we got? And then we got to decide on something to go forward for the best education of our kids. Because that's the best resource we've got here. And so we're hitting that resource on the lower grades to try to change their habits, their decision-making, that on drugs, alcohol. This is all tied in together, y'all. You got a bunch of kids messed up, they're not gonna have good grades. And they're gonna be a problem in middle school, they're gonna be a problem in high school, and they're gonna be a problem in society because nobody has dealt with them and told them, hey, there's a better way. I got firsthand information on it, I don't know. So that's my opinion.
I would just like to see, again, those two schools separated, so the kids can spread out more. I mean, there's a lot of kids in those rooms, and I wanna see them to be able to spread out more. And not have to, well, we can't go outside because the second graders are out there and the seventh graders don't need to be out there with the second graders, and I agree with that, they don't. But, I mean, at the same time, all that shouldn't have to be juggled, it shouldn't have to be. So that is my main concern. I would like to see that school split into two buildings.
I think that makes some good, I think we made some good headway. That right there, there's three of us. Wade, you were nodding your head. Rebecca, you may have been too. But the three of us have verbally said, we agree on that. That's something that we gotta work towards, and we've got to start working on that. Something else? I don't think there's one of us. I think we've gone about it different. We want the public's feedback. We've just gone about it different, and we need to think. We've got to take what the public wants. We need to listen to them. We need to. Everybody's invested in this. We've got to do that. And we want the best we can, the best possible outcome for our students. We've got some common goals here. We do have to get to work when this is on our agenda, and it's going to be on there every time. We've got to start making some headway and making some decisions. This board has huge things. We got a budget. That's always huge. We have a new leader that we have to assign. And we've got to continue to work on this plan. Yeah. So.
I mean, realistically, it's kind of hard to work on a budget when you don't know what your buildings look like. You see what I'm saying? Like, if it's hard to work on a budget knowing, okay, these schools are gonna stay together, these schools are gonna, be separate, we're gonna do this. I know we're on a time crunch for the budget, so, but this says 23, 24. Phase 1 is under that. And you've got on here things such as remodel old gym and alternative school in the basement and purchase land. So I mean, it's 2023, so.
Exactly.
And I don't know about y'all, I've been looking for land like crazy. I mean, I can buy it, but I've been looking for it. You'd be amazed at what people might donate a little bit to come off the price for a school system. I don't know if y'all have, but I've been, all honesty, I've been looking up at the Tennessee, whatever the website is, I can't think of it. Where you can look at people's property and what they
Tennessee
gave
property.
for it.
Yeah, the Tennessee property theory.
I mean, honestly, I have a few places I've looked at and made a contact with one or two people, but nothing in stone. It's just something I've been doing in the background to try to help with this plan. I agree with you, Jessica, but until we can't just sit here and argue, well, y'all who didn't like this plan, and I understand that, but like I'm saying, we've got to move forward. What, do you have a better, can you come up with a better idea next month, or, I mean, even at the budget meeting, hey, have y'all thought of this at this school and this at that school, and we could put these here? I mean, I'm just, that's what I'm getting at, we've got to do, we might have to do that.
Well, I know Wade had mentioned at our workshop about turning West Side into a middle school. Was
Either
that it?
one.
Yes.
Either one that we got left.
And, you know, it was, well, I hate to do that, you know,
It's too
the
far.
consensus was it's too far, I hate to do that, cause you're putting kids back into an old building, we want them to have a new building. I would love for them to have a new building, 100%, but realistically, we don't have the money for that, realistically. So I think it's time to look at, work with what you got, instead of saying, oh yeah, we're gonna have $30 million in 2024 to build this new building. That's in 2 years. I mean, realistically, I just don't see that happening.
And we've already seen, you never trust timelines on things always come up.
So,
You need to give
I
yourself
mean,
more time leadway on.
I mean, I'm a dreamer. I would love to have three brand new schools for our children, but I mean, just realistically, I just don't think it's gonna happen. And so I think it's time to start work with what you got process.
Right now, Neil told me week before last, at best, under present circumstances, I presume he meant the wheel tax stay in place, that we could probably do 12 million borrowed and pay it back every year.
We can borrow 12 million?
Yes.
And pay it back.
Under the current circumstances, meaning that $40
Right.
can be used on.
Without raising property tax. And that doesn't mean, that sure isn't a new school,
Right.
but I mean, no, not even close.
But that may be, that's
Start
good
set.
information. That may be something that, we could take this, invest in one of the other buildings, and.
You can make it look all new, right?
Right.
I mean, you're right on that, and then you start putting money in another account or line item and start saving.
I'm gonna go back to the county in which I came from, and look at,
So.
it's different, y'all, so watch out, Smith County Board. That doesn't look like the high school I went to, because they totally renovated both of those buildings. And found money to do that with the existing structures. It's a possibility.
And I don't think I don't think utilizing the building that we have is taking a step back. I mean, especially if you're gonna put money in it and upgrade it, when that's all you got, when that's all you got to work with, that's all you got to work with. I mean, it is what it is.
Because you will have some savings. Plus, Miss Sism was here, she's got 3 maintenance guys, right?
Yes, sir.
She will, Lord.
Yeah.
As of tomorrow, she's gonna have 3 maintenance guys, and if she's got less buildings, she would be tickled, because then she can move her guys around more efficiently, have less things to work on, hopefully. So there's savings down the road by getting the 3 schools, it's just getting to the 3 schools. That's the caveat that we're all having to deal with. And like I said to the county citizens, we're willing to pay more of something. Property tax or wheel tax, you can't borrow very much. Just a reality. I want a brand new school so bad I don't get tasted. Love to have one. I think our kids deserve it.
They do.
Yeah.
But Lord, how are we gonna get there? That's the problem. That's the train we're on.
And as you said, talking to Neil, and y'all are more welcome to go talk to him, but he told the previous board that he truly advised us getting down to at least 4 schools.
Yep.
to keep running. Just to keep running, just to keep our
Get
kids
by,
in the
to
building
get by.
and our teachers teaching.
And had we not had ESSER,
Oh, would have been.
Yeah, we've been.
had we not had ESSER,
We'd
ladies
be-
and gentlemen, oh, Miss ESSER over there, but we would have been in major financial straits in Cannon County.
Comptroller would have been in.
Exactly.
And he'd have been saying,
I've had that talk.
So these guys aren't against it, no, they're not against it, no way, they don't want comptroller to show up either.
Personally, I mean, I think we all know my feelings on the situation, like it still bothers me a lot. To have lost short memory. It really does. And that's just the way I feel. But I am willing to move forward from that, mostly because I have no choice. And I'm willing to move forward from that, but again, I just don't think that this plan is realistic. I just think it needs to be reworked. Not, because I'm bitter about Short Mountain being sold or anything like that, but just because this building, a new building for $30 million is, it's just not realistic. So this needs to be revamped. And I mean, are we even still, going with the old gym and the alternative school? I mean,
That's something for the board to still.
right.
yeah, that's what you're gonna be doing. And Joan,
And that's one of those things we deal with what we got kind of situation.
Right.
We need. Like I said earlier, I do appreciate all the hard work, principals, supervisors working on this. If y'all have put in some time.
And
If I
go-
can say something, when we were working on this, I mean, this is kind of the expectations I have for my teachers and my kids, we aim high. Not every kid's gonna hit that, we're not gonna hit that every day, I mean, that's just reality, we're not. But if we aim here and we fall below that, we're here. But if we aim here and we fall below that, we're gonna be here. So this was very much like high expectations, but what I'm hearing you say now is, you don't think this is realistic, but maybe if we aim here and we land here, then we're still not down here. Does that make sense? So we kind of just said, in a perfect world, here's what we think would be a perfect world. We don't live in a perfect world.
And here,
So I think that's where we're at now. If we aim high and we land somewhere that's not on the bottom, because our kids do deserve for us to aim high and land
The
higher.
thing is that we took like, we were asked to do this as a team, and we worked on it, but we saw what the plan was, and we thought the goal was to get to 3 schools. And to Ms. Curtis's point, to get them separated. So that was a plan that we came up with, thinking that that was where, one suggestion, or where we thought you wanted to go, how to live with what we've got and make do until
Exactly.
we can do something different. So, you know what? If that's not the plan the board wants, it's your plan.
And we're okay with that. We were just given a task, and we all sat down and
Have
said,
more direction.
right.
And like you said earlier, Dr. Milton, the teachers here in the county are just being some of the best.
yeah, and we
Ms.
can take
Crystal, Ms. Crystal, did you raise your hand? Okay.
all right. And really with this document, the strategic plan, goal 3 is goal 3 and goal 4 will be revised by March 1st. Okay? Goal 3, goal 4 will be revised by March 1st because that's part of our district improvement plan. Okay, that'll be done, like I say, by March 1st. That will be done. I mean, I'm looking at goal 4. Goal 4 could be probably done within next 2 weeks, but by March 1st, because that's also part of the improvement plan. So you've got those being done by March 1st, 2023. Goal 2 is a safety goal. We're still working on that. I was gonna do that as part of my director's update, but I'm working with members of the General Assembly to get SROs to one SRO in every school as part of next year's budget at the state legislature. I'm working hard on that. We'll continue to work hard till I'm out of here. And then goal 2, so that leaves you, that's goal 2 is safety. That could be revised by March 1st also. Now, and that's by the supervisors, principals working together. Objective number 1 of goal 1, by July 2020 school schedule will reflect the state recommended tier 1 of instructional time. I believe those instructional goals can be a part of your budget process, but I don't think those will greatly change on objective 1. So it seems that where we are at is objective 2.
We're in objective 2, but we have already talked about that next year, we're staying exactly like we are. We've already made that decision as a board. What our focus needs to be on, okay, I think this discussion's great tonight. We know some directions that we want to go in. I don't think any one of the 5 of us want to sit here and go with exactly what's gone. Ms. Curtis, Ms. Jessica, you said realistically, I'm with you. I know what I want, but realistically, I don't think we're gonna be able to do it, not with this situation. So we know what next year looks like, but we know we want to separate them. We know that realistically, we've got to change some things, and we know we want to get as close to 3 schools as we can. So we have some work to do to get things right for the following year. And that starts now, because if we can let supervisors, principals, and educators know what that next year will look like in a reasonable amount of time, that's priceless. I'm running out of words, y'all, because I'm tired. Yeah, it's priceless. Yeah, it's priceless. So
When we get to 3 schools, guys, this is the situation. The citizens of this county can look at this board and say, you've done all you can do physically as a physical responsibility.
Yeah.
Because then we have cut as far as we can cut. That'll have exactly the number of teachers we need, according to state. That's exactly how many janitors we need, cooks, and maintenance people. We've done all we can do. There's nothing else the citizens of this county can ask us to do physically. We can always do more on academics, yes, but physically, the physical structure of how we're structured, we can't get any better. Do you think the middle school's been so far pretty successful in its present situation?
Even with the ups and downs that we've had with a constant administrator, I actually think, looking back on it, we've talked about that. Even the path it got there, I'm thinking it's in pretty good shape right now. I hear very good things from the community, other than the one thing that I hear is that we wish they went together, but as far as what's actually happening in classrooms and the admin.
The culture, there's been a real good culture built there.
yeah, I agree.
And I think things like Coach Watson and what they did when they got the gym and bringing the community in. I think often it's not that our district doesn't support education, because look around. We just had Mr. Foster talk about fruit sales and plant sales, how much money he runs through a program. We just heard Mr. Nave say he's gonna get you a dollar amount so that we're able to usher in. I've been to those junior pro games that parents or grandparents and great grandparents are coming out and, paying to see little ones in and out. They're willing to pay that kind of money. We raise enough money to send Beta Club all over. I know Ms. Kennedy raises enough money that her virtual enterprise goes different places. How much do we raise for Cannon Dream to get? So the support is there, and there's apparently money there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, how do we channel that energy to say, how are we gonna make things better as a school district and facility wise? And I think if we get the plan and we get the momentum going, that we can make some things happen. Maybe it won't look neat and tidy all the time. It didn't look neat and tidy, and we didn't know if we'd start school August with it neat and tidy. But it did.
And there's a lot of apprehension, but I'll just say at Cannon North, my people are happy. If they could go back and change something, they might, but they're happy right now, and they will tell you that. So.
And y'all's two
change it
cultures, the
forward.
north and south, had completely changed, being K through 5.
How many students you have at South?
360. And how many do you have at?
My last count was like 219.
Oh, so
Miss
you're
Margaret.
a smaller school now.
I am, I'm the baby, I'm the baby now.
Y'all from the
But
middle,
we got two.
y'all from the middle tonight.
And I will tell you, it has been so good, because I have 2 of everything right now.
It is good.
And they're
It is
common
good to have a
planning,
smaller school.
and we're
It's
doing,
good that-
you know, 3rd and 4th grade are doing things together, and, 4th and 5th grade doing things together, 2nd, 3rd grade doing things together, but it's just a really good dynamic, the way it's laid out right now.
I'm sure it is.
Emily's on board if you'd like to hear from elementary. Tammy Smith is on board if you'd like to hear from middle, so. Madam Chairman, get
So
tired.
365, are you totally to the same?
You know what happened?
So you're, with the number of rooms you have, that's all you can get in your school is 360.
Yeah, we're using portables.
Oh, no.
3 portables.
For ancillary courses, not for classrooms, but for ancillary. Art, pre-K. Pre-K is the permanent portable. Art is
And
what.
tutoring.
And tutoring are utilized in portables.
And then those 3 walls, like, helped us tremendously because we were able to take those 3 classrooms and make them 6. So if that happened, we would really be out of space.
I think we need to usher more kids.
And that's something of rezoning that we're gonna talk about. We done voted to come back and look at rezoning
That's already been worked on, it's
on some to create, help to create or alleviate what we've got going on in the crowding at Cannon County Elementary. So moving those toward her availability of rooms, cause you go up to 300.
And I do have some rooms, we're using all of our rooms, but I have tutoring in room inside, I have other things that we could, combine some things and make some more room. But I don't wanna get to the point to where we were before, to where I would have 3 of one thing one year and the next year go back. We need to be as consistent as we possibly can. Just increase them, we could increase the numbers at some places.
And we've got some numbers, Lisa's already looking at that for the board, when we're gonna move from Emily up there, not pointing at Emily there, but move from Cannon County Elementary, that's gonna have to be looked at, particularly in the western side of Woodbury, that direction that we've got.
We can do that pretty easily, I think. We've kind of been talking a little bit about that. I think, nothing's that easy. It looks good on paper, but, I think we can do that.
All right, we're looking at 3.5 hours. Okay.
Thursday will be quick.
I really appreciate that, this discussion. I think it was good for us tonight. So thank you, all of you. Item number 23, the Cannon County Board of Education. I believe that's the Finance Advisory.
It is the Budget Advisory Committee, and that what you'd like to do is to approve the Cannon County Budget Advisory Committee to select your date and time as a committee, instead of coming to come back from the board and do meetings, you select at the committee, you give the authorization for the committee to decide when the next days you want to meet, and that's.
When we meet with that committee on the 26th, we were talking about that.
This is the finance?
Yeah.
It's a
Budget
budget.
advisory.
He left out the word budget.
Budget advisory, sorry, budget advisory.
Budget
Yeah.
committee, you okay
You decide when you want to do your meetings
to?
and,
Pretty simple.
and yeah, and so.
All right. Item number 24. The director's comment.
It was enjoyable to break bread tonight together.
Chairman's
Appreciate it.
comments. I appreciate all of you. I said that about 50 times tonight. We will adjourn.
Oh, yeah.
I think you